You're strapped in to a live radio broadcast on Pure Rock Radio.
Welcome to the Used Bin. All music, all the time. What are you listening to? Used Bin Radio.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hey, welcome into the Used Bin. It is nice to have you with us tonight, everybody. We have got a jam-packed show for you.
We certainly do. We've got a lot going on tonight.
It's Brad and it's Joe, and it's Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It's February 7th, 2012. Joe, why do I say the date tonight? I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because we are 2 days removed from an epic Super Bowl with an awful halftime that we can talk about a little later.
Sure.
We are 5 days from the 54th Annual Grammy Awards.
Right.
Which, you know, we generally hate the Grammys but love the performances.
Sure.
So we will go down to Staples Center and do our recon.
Yes, we will.
Come back with a full report next week.
Yes, we will.
But the two most important numbers of the night. You ready for this?
Yeah.
13 and 28.
13 and 28.
It has been, Joe. I'm not even going to make you guess.
All right.
It has been 13 years since we've been able to say there's a brand new Van Halen album in the stores. And it has been 28 years since you've been able to say the lead singer of that band is David Lee Roth.
That's right. Wow.
And it's a big day.
You did your math homework.
I did. I'm good. I used my mortgage calculator.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Can't say I'm overly excited about the 13, but the 28 is a big deal in my life.
No, but factually you have to be correct.
Factually, you got to be correct.
Yeah, and you know how we are. We're very factual.
Absolutely.
So it's an exciting night. We're going to dig into Van Halen.
Yeah.
We are going to dig into some Grammys. We're going to talk a little Scale to Summit. Joe and I went and saw that.
I'll tell you about Ghost. I saw them.
Which is exciting.
Yes.
So we have a lot to get into tonight.
And what we would like you to all do, because you know the drill, we want to hear what you've been listening to, and all you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is pick up that phone and dial 888-405-7440 from anywhere on the planet, and we will talk to you. And that is precisely what some fine caller has done on line 6.
So let's hit it. A good evening and welcome into the Used Bin. Who is this?
This is Tim Murdoch from Sydney, Australia. Hi, Brad.
Wow. Hello, Gene. Dude, welcome into the Used Bin.
This is our first Down Under call.
Yeah.
Nice.
You guys just rule.
Oh, well, you just rule for calling.
Well, we appreciate that, man. Well, what are you up to? What have you been listening to, Gene? Thanks for calling, man.
Well, I've been listening to the new Van Halen, which I got on our time. I think it was your last Thursday. I got it on Wednesday afternoon here. So. Yeah.
Got it. And what do you think of that?
It's blowing me the hell away, man.
Good.
Yeah.
Now we gotta put it in perspective. First of all, were you a big Van Halen fan, and were you specifically a fan of the Dave years or the Sammy years, or just the whole thing, or where do you fall in that whole thing?
I love both. Probably technically, I think maybe Sammy Hagar's a better singer.
Mm-hmm.
But I love both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, this is certainly a great rock record. That's for sure.
Oh, dude, this is. Oh my God, I can't believe how good it is.
What were you expecting it to be like, and did this surpass your expectations?
Yes, it did. I'm just like, because Eddie, as we all know, he's been through a lot over the last few years, and for one reason and another. But you know, and it could have been a complete train wreck, you know. But it's just anything but, and it's just great to see him playing so unbelievably, because I think kind of what's happened over the last 14 years. I mean, you know, I think sometimes people forget the guy's a premier guitar player. He's the most important rock guitar player after Jimi Hendrix.
Sure.
You know, and I kind of think that people, because he's been away so long, I mean, he's done a couple of tours, obviously, with Sammy and Dave and whatever, but since it's been so long since there's been like a full album, I think maybe, some people kind of forget, but he's just shredding all over this record, man.
He really is.
That's really well put, by the way. That's exactly right.
He really is, because, it would have been very easy to go on autopilot and play simple riffs. But some of the things that he and Alex are doing are like these syncopated, almost progressive fusion moments. It's really, really cool how adventurous.
What about Wolfie?
Yeah, I'm really impressed.
Yeah, he's not Michael Anthony, but he can play the hell out of that bass, can he?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Joe, I'm the guy that's been on the Used board a couple of times. The first time I talked to you was about the Motley Crue self-titled album from '94.
Oh, sure.
And
Okay.
I'm the guy that has just discovered the entire Rush catalog.
That's really, I remember telling Brad, somebody on the Rush forum just discovered, somebody on the Used forum just discovered the Rush catalog, and I'm jealous.
And that's thanks to your show and Eddie Trunk.
Oh, well,
wow.
We'll
thank
take
you.
We'll take half of that credit.
Yeah. Wow. So tell me about that. What's that been like?
Well, what I did, because I'm a big classic rock guy. That's really what I'm into, and I'd heard little things of Rush before that I didn't really like. But then it was funny. Like I heard some of the early '70s stuff, off the first Rush album, and some of the stuff off 2012, and I was like, what the hell is this? And so what I did was, I've got the whole catalogue now. I went and bought the Spectres box set, which I heard about from your show.
Nice.
And I've just gone, so far I've listened to the first 4 albums, quite a few times, and I'm up to about Moving Pictures. But what I did, the first albums that I owned were from Presto to Snakes and Arrows.
Uh-huh.
And I listened to those 4 or 5 Atlantic records first, and then I went back. But unbelievable stuff.
Wow,
that's a really interesting way to go about listening to Rush. And I'll tell you something funny is that, being that last Wednesday was February 1st, right? International Rush Day, as we like to call it, 2112.
What happened there? Do you guys know?
No, it was just sort of an unofficial way to celebrate Rush, I think. It's the closest we'll ever come to 2112, I guess. So that's all that really was. But I'll tell you, my wife's brother, so my brother-in-law, he is not a big Rush guy. He's not really a classic rock guy. He's about 24. And I saw him on Wednesday, and I was just started screaming and yelling, everybody needs to start listening to 2112 at least one time today. So he did it. He said, all right. Yeah, he said, I love the record. Now where do I go from here? And oddly enough, the first thing out of my mouth was Presto. And I'm not exactly sure why, because normally it would have been Permanent Waves or Moving Pictures. But I said Presto. And he went berserk over it. He absolutely loved it. So the fact that you started there is pretty impressive.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, some of the songs off Farewell to Kings, like how good is Closer to the Heart, man? What a song.
Yeah. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. That's cool, man.
That's really cool. That's really cool that you've got into it. Now, I don't generally, when we see Rush tour dates, I don't generally see them going down to Australia. So I'm guessing that they probably haven't been down there in a while.
They've never been here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
That is weird.
I mean, you guys. I mean, look. Motley Crue is my favourite band, and you guys are so lucky there. I mean, obviously at the moment Motley Crue's playing Vegas, and I hear that's just going down ballistically.
Yeah.
They've been my favourite band since about 1989.
Nice.
Oh, good.
And I've only seen them 3 times. They've been here 3 times. They were here last year, and I saw Bright of Destruction as well in 2004. But I hear about all these tours down there. It's unbelievable what you guys get.
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of the grass is always greener because we do get a lot of Rush and Motley Crue and stuff. But if we want to see Silverchair, we're kind of screwed.
Right, it's true. Or Wolf Mother, for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wolf Mother.
Are you not a Wolf Mother fan?
Not really. I've got Sabbath for that.
Yeah, well, that's fair. What other stuff do you listen to besides classic rock? Are you into any of the progressive stuff, or are you into any pop rock? Or?
Well, I like Savage Garden.
Uh-huh.
I like Hanson. Kind of anything past the first album is really good. The first album wasn't really good, but those guys have done some really good stuff since that first record.
I know Joe likes Hanson.
Yeah, I love that song "If Only." I think it's a great pop song.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of Hanson. Just not so much the first, the whole mbop thing was a little too teen for me. But,
no.
But later they got really good.
The second record this time around, that's an incredible record.
They got a lot of soul, those kids. They're really good players. And they're not really kids anymore, but they're good.
They're young adults, Joe.
That's right. It's a bunch of choogles.
Lately I've been discovering, I know this is nuts, but I've been discovering stuff like Thin Lizzy and Status Quo and, there's so much stuff. For prog, really, Rush is my first band,
Wow.
I love Pink Floyd, but it was interesting because I was watching the classic albums documentary with on moving pictures in 2112.
Yeah.
And I think it's the drummer from the Foo Fighters that's talking,
Mm-hmm.
And he says, like, and this is a really good thing, this kind of sums it all up for me. He says, if you like Black Sabbath and Yes, then Rush is the perfect band for you, because Rush is like they're a heavy band, man.
Yeah, there's no question.
Especially in those early records, because they were taking the heaviness of, Zeppelin and Sabbath, and then they were taking the sort of progressive attitude of Yes and Floyd and Genesis and putting it into a blender and coming up with something totally new. That's why a lot of people credit them as being sort of the first progressive metal band.
Yeah, and I think now, too, even with those two new songs and what looks like a nice preview of Clockwork Angels, those songs are heavy.
When's that record out?
They say spring, I think.
Yeah, I think we're thinking maybe
spring,
April.
Yeah, oddly enough, though, I think I just read from rushasaband.com actually that that record's been pushed back towards the latter part of the year. Now that I'm thinking of it, so who knows? I mean. Hopefully they're just. It sounds like the record's going to be epic. I mean, it sounds like the song "Clockwork Angels" is going to be a big long piece, and there should be some classic Rush songs on there that maybe we haven't heard in a while. But just the tone of those tunes that we heard live and that you can download with Caravan and BU2B, those were massive tracks. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it was Geddy Lee that was telling Eddie Trunk, because Eddie Trunk is kind of like, because I subscribe to his radio show and his internet site and stuff. And he was Geddy Lee, or either Geddy Lee or Alex was telling Eddie Trunk that he's going to love this record because it's going to be a very, very heavy record. And because Eddie Trunk was kind of saying, I love it when you guys the first several albums. And so apparently this is meant to be very heavy.
Yeah. Well, I'm over the moon excited about it because we certainly didn't love Snakes and Arrows, but I got a funny feeling that this is not Snakes and Arrows.
I haven't heard that record yet.
I
haven't heard Snakes and Arrows yet. I got to Vapor Trails before I went back to the Sectors box set. So I haven't heard that record yet.
Well, good. Well, Snakes and Arrows will be a treat for you then. Yeah. It's not a bad record. It's just not my favorite.
Just a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say before I go, I've been listening to you guys for about since August last year.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
No, sorry, August 2010.
Okay.
And when we moved down here, because we moved down here from Canberra, which is the place, it's the capital of Australia.
Yeah.
And we moved down here, and my family went through some pretty hard health issues, and my wife's doing really well now. But you guys just kept such a smile on my face, man, and you guys are amazing. I really, from the bottom of my heart, you guys don't know how much what you do affects other people.
Wow. That is really, really kind words. Praise indeed, sir.
Yeah. We appreciate it, man, and thank you so much for listening, and I'm glad the family's doing well.
Well, I have to. One of these days, I'm going to have a talk with Joe about the Motley Crue self-titled record.
Okay. Yeah, just it was one of those things. Every once in a while, one of these records comes by, and some people just love it and champion it, and sometimes it just goes over my head. And that was one of them. Yeah, like The Elder, the self-titled with Karabi.
Oh.
So yeah, the Elder is a good example. Sometimes my taste is just a little skewed from everybody else's. I can't explain it. But, yeah, I think I'd rather listen to The Elder than that Motley Crue album, but that's just me.
Now, you're right. He's just a mess, dude. He's just a wreck. You can't.
Did any of you guys see that tour?
With John Karabi?
I actually did see that tour.
Yeah.
Believe it. I did. I saw that at the Palladium. Believe it or not. I saw it at a small club, yeah.
I think that was the last show on the American tour before they went to Japan.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't think I would have remembered that had you not mentioned it. But yeah, I did see that show, and it was missing a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't the same spark.
That's my favorite record of all time.
Wow. All right. Just based on that alone, I'm going to have to revisit it and report back next week and see if I, with the passage of time, discover anything new in there. Because I'll tell you what, very similar to that, I never liked, to be fair, I never even listened to the Van Halen album with Gary Cherone up until about a year ago.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, you were telling us that. I remember you saying it, yeah.
Yeah, I had never even heard it. I ignored it, and it's like it didn't count with me. And so finally about a year ago, which is weird because I'm a big Extreme fan anyway, but about a year ago I figured I'd give it a try, and it was actually pretty good. Not as a Van Halen record, but just as a rock record.
No, it's not a horrible record at all.
It's got some good things. I actually saw them on that tour. They came to Australia on that tour. That was the first time they've ever been here.
So that's amazing.
I'm a musician. That's what I do for a living. And I was playing outside the venue that day. And Edward Van Halen gave me $40.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty great. You're a guitar player, I'm assuming?
No, I play keyboards and sing.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Very nice.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was very cool to me, man.
Yeah, that'd be cool to me, too. I think I'd frame that $40.
Sure.
Hey, $40 is $40.
How many times? Well, $10 is $10.
Well played. You've caught on.
That's right.
Well, stay in touch with us.
More regularly.
Yeah.
I hope I can dig in more regularly because I just love your show so much, man.
Well, we appreciate the phone call, man, and definitely make sure that you call us again. What time is it where you're at, by the way?
It's 2:00 here in the afternoon on Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
Good.
Very nice.
Cool.
So, take it easy, and I'll keep listening. Thanks for the 4 podcasts the other day. You kind of go through withdrawal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're. I hope that you. Well, I hope you didn't listen to all 4 at once because that's a lot of Brad and Joe. That's a lot of nonsense.
I listened to the first 2 at once, and now I'm on to the second 2.
Wow.
I'm listening to the one where you guys talk about tattoo at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, it's all building up to the record release, which we'll talk about later tonight.
All culminating in the new record.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys soon. Hey.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for the call.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
How about that?
Yeah, that was one of the nicer compliments I think we've ever gotten.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got a little teary-eyed. Like,
yeah, that was nice. Yeah. Well, that's great. We appreciate that that phone call for sure. That was very, very nice.
Well, we got lots going on, but I'm guessing that why don't we just you want to just dive right into the Van Halen thing?
Oh yeah, because absolutely. Well, we should talk about what we've been up to, and what we've been listening to. You want to know what I've been listening to? I've been listening to Van Halen. You want to talk about Van Halen?
You want to know what I've been up to and what I've been listening to?
I'm going to guess you've been up to a little bit of Van Halen.
A little bit of Van Halen.
That's funny. So have I.
All right, let's talk about it.
Okay, you first.
Oh, really?
No, me first.
You first.
I'll go first because I think we know what you think.
Because I have sound bites and show and tell, and I got things.
All right. Well, I'm going to go through it. Let me go through it. Hold on. Let me just dig deep.
Dig deep.
For
Dig
just a
deep.
moment.
Adjust the sack, ease the seat back, and hook us up.
I've been listening to a lot of stuff, actually, if we should be fair. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about Flying Colors, because I dug deep into that this week, too. But the Van Halen record, well, let's just say this, that, Let
me ask you a question first.
Okay.
All right, because I'm curious. We all know your sort of allegiance to the Sammy years, and although I know that you appreciate the old
Sure.
records with Van Halen.
Yeah.
It would be very easy to assume that in 2012 a record's going to come out, it's a reunion, with or without old, demos being re-recorded or blah blah blah. Was the anticipation of what this record was going to be? Let me rephrase that. When you heard the record, was it better than what you anticipated, or pretty much what you anticipated?
Oh, it
or worse?
Far exceeded my expectations.
Good. Okay, good.
Oh, far exceeded my expectations.
That's a really long-winded way to ask that question, but okay, thanks for cutting to the chase.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, that way it far exceeded what I really thought. And again, we've talked about this maybe 4 weeks in a row now,
right?
And so I'll repeat it at the beginning of my review, which is that I'm not really put off so much by the fact that these may be some old songs or some old riffs. It doesn't bother me that much. I mean, am I totally curious to hear what brand new written Van Halen songs are? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not offended and upset, and it doesn't skew my thoughts about what this record is like, knowing that there's some songs that were, written in 1978 or whatever. That doesn't bother me so much. So having said that, let me just say that the record far exceeded anything I could have thought they would have done. And part of that is because the production on this record is absolutely perfect. I don't think it could sound any better. I mean, Eddie Van Halen is, and you used this word in an email once we, Joe and I emailed a little bit once we both got our first listens of the record, and you used the word ferocious, and that's the perfect adjective to describe his playing. It's gargantuan. It's massive, and I just wonder what took so goddamn long. Like, it's been all this time since you've just let loose. I can't imagine what's been going on all this time. This is monster stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to give you a track by track, but I will say, without going into Tattoo, we've done that, and She's the Woman, we've done that. The first song that completely caught my ear was the second to last tune, Big River. I fucking love that tune. I still wake up singing that song in my, when I wake up in the morning.
Nice.
It's just a huge, massive rock anthem. That's the kind of song I want to hear in an arena. Just a big rock and roll chorus, and I love that. But I love Chinatown. It's so quintessential old school Van Halen.
Yeah.
It's just a great tune, and fucking Eddie and Alex are just on a different plane on that record. And I have to think to myself that those two guys, when they were making this record, I'm hoping that they were in the same room when they made the record, but they're so in sync that they have to be in a really good place in their lives when they were making that record.
Yeah.
It certainly sounds like it, Love, Blood, and Fire. It's a great chorus, although I'll say that that's probably the most 5150 sounding song on that record. It's a little less ferocious and a little more adult. How's that?
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Love, Honey Baby Sweetie Doll, Dirty. So, what's funny about that record? Whenever I listen to it, I feel like I'm listening to it in a phone booth. Like, I feel like all those guys are in a little phone booth, and they're just they're jamming like that. There's a lot of bass in that, which I like. I thought Wolfie does great. And the funny part about that, I think, is the oh no, I'm sorry, wrong song. The Trouble with Never is what I was going to get at. Is the talking part towards the end of Trouble with Never, which the first time I heard that, I went, that's Zappa. In fact, not only is that Zappa, that's almost the similar rap from Dynamo Hum.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Sure.
Yeah, and I like it. It's very, very good.
I like that side of Dave.
Yeah, that's where he's good.
Not to butt in, but some of his delivery and some of his cadence and some of his lower register on this is very reminiscent for me of Skyscraper. In particular, like, the song Skyscraper, but like Hina.
Oh yeah.
I get a lot of like Skyscraper meets Fair Warning, because this is not the 1984 glossy keyboards Van Halen, and it's not even the diver down like comic, old time rock and roll Van Halen. This is that sort of really like avant-garde Van Halen, where they're outside of the rock and roll box and reaching into some fusion and metal bits. Not intensely, but just enough to show you we can do that.
Well, they're just so on the same page. It all feels like they just are really like in the groove. They're super in the moment, and the record reflects that.
Yeah.
And Dave, I think, sounds great because I don't think he's trying to do too much.
Right.
And that's my biggest complaint about Dave, is that when he does too much, he exposes himself.
Right.
And I don't feel like he did that too much.
You don't want to see Dave expose himself?
No, definitely don't want to see that.
At the S Festival, he had assless chaps. I guess that
well, now that looks
counts.
That looks like the top of his head these days. So, but you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
I think his lack of vocal ability gets exposed when he tries to do too much.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't feel like that's the case here. I really feel like he's singing pretty much in the appropriate register. I'm not sure how much he's going to be able to do of it live.
Right.
But I don't feel like, it just doesn't feel forced. That's what it is. So I love that. And then, of course, Out of Space, which is like fucking welcome back to the 3-minute ass-kicking fucking rock song. It's such a great tune. And I love it. So without like fully beating it into the ground, it's just a tremendous record. It's easily, as far as albums that have been released, it's easily the best album of the year. And maybe if I was doing a top 10 of 2011, I still might put this record in there.
I'm really impressed. Impressed. That's a big step for you, Brad.
I've listened to this record probably 25 times.
Yeah,
I've really listened to it a lot. And that was after I went on this ridiculous Flying Colors binge, which we'll go into.
We'll definitely get into Flying Colors.
But
later.
it's really an epic album. If you haven't heard it and you feel like you're biased, and I read somebody say that they can't understand what the big fuss is about when these bands and these reunion albums, and they're never as good as the older albums and this and that.
This is every bit as good.
Yeah, it proves that theory completely wrong.
Yeah, and especially anybody who's still on the fence about picking this record up because they think, all they're doing is releasing a bunch of old demos. And I've heard people say, oh, this is just old demos. That's really not what this is at all. And I'm actually going to drive that point home in a couple of minutes because I have a little comparison for you of a few little sound bites. But I don't want to go totally track by track either, but I did want to do this. Being the bootleg aficionado that I am, I felt it only fair because I am sort of caught up in this whole thing of people discussing, they're just rehashing old stuff. I want to hear what Van Halen would sound like today. You're going to get Van Halen today on this record. All they're doing is they're reaching back to some, not all of this record. Some of this record contains some either riffs or in some cases some full songs that they just never got around to recording, but that doesn't represent the whole album. So just real quickly, like Tattoo and She's the Woman, that was basically Shot Down in Flames and She's the Woman from 1975.
By the way, go ahead.
Bullethead was also an old song from the early club days. A song called Out of Space, which is essentially a song called Let's Get Rockin', was an old demo. And the only other two are Big River, which used to be called Big Trouble back in 1975. And the closer, Beats Workin', used to be called Put Out the Lights. Other than that, all the other songs essentially are brand new songs that they've written now. Maybe the occasional riff here or there, or a little, couple of notes here and there, but they've essentially written half of this album now. And some of the ones that are new, I think, are some of the strongest ones. Chinatown in particular.
It's great. What I was just going to say really quick was that I find it so interesting that the first single on this record was Tattoo, because listening to the whole album, it's the song I like the least out of the whole thing. It's not the best song on the album
Yeah.
by any stretch. However, it seems to be the song that they led with, which is weird to me.
The pre-chorus is so strong.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the
Yeah,
album.
it's so strong.
My favorite part of the song. But
Yeah.
But again, if you listen to the rest of the record, all the songs are strong pretty much start to finish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
An interesting little experiment, not that you need more reason to listen to this record, but if you start that song about 10 seconds in, like after the sort of little vocal effect of tattoo, tattoo, if you just start on the riff and the opening of the music playing, that's more along the lines of how Shot Down in Flames start. And it just kind of punches you with the riff
Right.
instead of that happy little vocal 10 seconds.
Right.
If you start it that way, it's a much stronger song, and I think it would have been a better way to open the record. But
Well, that's the thing.
that's just minor. That's a minor technicality.
That song feels much more laid back, with the exception of obviously Stay Frosty, because that song is what it is. But it's so much more laid back than I think the rest of the album.
Right.
I mean, it's really, well, what's the other tune I said that was a little bit more like 5150-ish?
Well, Blood and Fire.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because that was the tune where essentially they've used part of a riff that Eddie wrote solo as background music, and it didn't make the soundtrack, but it was going to be in the movie The Wildlife.
Right.
So I put that around 1983, 4, 5, right around there. So the fact that he was writing that little riff and working on that, essentially that is the beginnings of 5150, even though Sammy wasn't in the picture yet. But it was
But
a
yeah,
little
I
riff that he worked on, and
that's the preview
without-
of where the band was headed.
Yeah.
Those are the only two songs I feel like are as laid back as they are. The rest of the album is just smokes.
Stay Frosty's kind of fun because it really is sort of it follows the same arrangement as Ice Cream Man, starting with acoustic,
Yeah.
kind of funny, kind of goofy. It's
And
got
then
that
blows up.
same kind of Ice Cream Man vibe, and then just blows
Yeah.
up into big time rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's fun because it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, you can't play Stay Frosty and Ice Cream Man in the same set list live. Be interesting to see if they retire Ice Cream Man for a while and replace that part of the show with Stay Frosty. Because traditionally, one of the highlights of a Van Halen show, especially back in the 80s, was about 3/4 of the way through the set when the band would leave and Dave would come out with his acoustic guitar, he'd strum it, he'd tell you a goofy little story,
Right.
start the intro to Ice Cream Man, and then they'd all kick in.
Right.
Be interesting to see if Stay Frosty takes that place in the set this time around.
I'm with you. You want to go to the phones real
Let's
quick?
go to the
and then we'll
phone.
get into
Let's
to
go
what
to
your
the phones.
thoughts. Hello and welcome into the Used Bin. Who's this?
Good day.
Good day.
Good day. He is back from his 1 week reprieve, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, William McDaniel.
What's going on, guys?
We're just so excited about this Van Halen record that you just can't shut us up right now. So, so it's good that we take a breath and listen to what you have to say.
Well, I guess I called it a good time then.
That's right.
Absolutely.
What's going on, pal?
Well, I missed you last week, so I suppose you're going to want to hear about a little Tool show.
Sure. Yeah, we would love to. And I know Rachel in particular, who's in the room. It smells really nice in here.
That's right.
She would love to hear about the your Tool experience. Now, if memory serves,
Did you want to talk about his Tool?
his Tool experience.
That's really uncomfortable.
Take it easy now.
Dude, you know what? Leave the kid alone.
Tool experience.
You know he had a birthday, by the way.
Maynard?
William.
Oh.
Come on. William's birthday, to correct me if I'm wrong, young man, was 2112. February 1st.
Oh, that's beauty, eh?
Am I right about that?
Beauty way to go.
That is a beauty way to go.
2112.
Oh, it's serendipitous, eh?
That is great. That is great.
It's
I
but
had
if
my sweater on all day long.
nice,
nice.
But if
nice.
memory serves me, this was going to be your first Tool show. Is that right?
Memory serves you correct.
All right. So what did you think?
Well, as Rachel told me, it was a visual overload,
Yeah. Right.
and it was loud. It was a good thing that I had my earplugs.
Yeah.
They started off with Hooker with a Penis.
Right. It's my favorite because I've seen one. I mean, I enjoy that song tremendously.
Your favorite kind of hookers, Brad?
Yes, it's autobiographical for me.
And then Maynard showed a hint of having a personality after that song.
Whoa! Wow. Stop the presses. We found it. He landed in Toronto, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, they finished the song, and then there's sort of a bit of a lull, and then Maynard goes, "And thank you and good night," and then went to walk off the stage. So after Maynard sort of did that and everybody laughed, they played Jambi.
Nice.
And little Negative Ions.
Awesome.
Then they went into Stinkfist.
Cute.
And then Maynard announced that they would be playing some songs that they haven't played since they were sperm.
Really? Who knew Maynard was sperm?
I didn't know.
Yes.
So they went into the intro from Ticks and Leeches, which went into Sober, which was one of my favorite songs of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went into Push It.
Nice.
And then a nice little jam intro to Schism.
Good.
And then I think it was after Schism, two of the roadies played a giant game of asteroids on the giant screen.
Wait, what'd they do?
They played a couple of rounds of Asteroids.
Oh.
The video game.
Yeah, I got it. That's funny.
Yeah, it was a funny couple minutes.
Nobody
really knew what was going on.
Yeah, that's a bit reminiscent of when we saw them at the Universal, and halfway through the show, they just played. They played the South Park cartoon. Was it the Jesus versus?
Yeah, South Park Christmas, the original
cartoon.
The original episode.
Yeah, they just stopped playing.
What would Brian Boitano do?
Right, for about 5 minutes, and they played that cartoon, and they came back on and continued the show.
What incredible!
It was almost a weird intermission.
What incredible honor!
Yeah, that's right.
They did that when he was dressed as the Reverend. They'd have the roadies would come on stage and they'd just sit down and start playing cards, totally take a break from the show.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute.
So
and
was
all
there?
the roadies were dressed in lab coats too, so they'd show up at different parts of the show. Like they took out during 46 and 2, I believe, they took out a small little drum kit, and Danny Carey and this guy named Chris just sort of drum soloed against each other.
That's fun.
Did you wet your pants?
No, I did not.
But you would have, Rachel.
Oh my God! I mean, okay, tell me this: when you see Danny Carey, do you say he's like a love child of Neil Peart mixed with John Bonham mixed with Keith Moon?
And a little bit of Nico McBrain from Maiden.
Oh, there you go.
Wow. Rach is getting philosophical on your ass. It's pretty serious right there.
Danny Carey, love child. Wow.
Respect the Danny Carey.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
Back off.
Okay.
All right. Continue. So what was their encore?
The last couple songs they did Intention, 46 and 2, Lateralus, Parabola, and then an amazing version of Enema.
Wow. It's a long show.
You had a really good show. That was a great set list.
Yeah, they had Sober and one of the other songs they hadn't played yet on that tour, so.
Nice.
Was there a song in particular that they didn't play that you were dying to see?
I was really happy with the set list. I would have really liked to see 4 Degrees, because that's probably my favorite Tool song.
Oh, that's allegedly about anal sex. FYI.
Well, they should have played that right after Hooker with a Penis.
Danny Carey, love child.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
A little bit of trivia.
Peanuts, Crawl Away, and Prison Sex, all one after another.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Could have been the anal rape medley.
But I love Undertow. That's my favorite Tool album. So
Yeah.
I love that song too.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
that's what happens when you get pluked.
So I guess in summation, are you going to another Tool show?
Definitely.
Yahoo!
Rachel feels like there's a convert in the house.
Yes!
You get the points, Rachel.
Nice.
If I could have got tickets and public transport, I would have went and saw them in London the next night.
Wow.
So this was at the Air Canada Centre, right?
Yes,
Wow.
and it was. The review that I saw said that it wasn't sold out, but I didn't see any empty seats.
Right.
Nice.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Nice.
Well, the fact that
And
they
it's
can
a
go out
short-
and fill arenas
It's a
without
short
a
tour,
record
too.
is impressive.
It's a
I mean,
short
that's amazing.
tour, so I think people are kind of scrambling to come to the smaller cities that they're playing this time around, and going out of their way to get to see the show.
Toronto's a big city, Joe.
Yeah, but they're hitting a lot of markets on this short tour that
they don't normally.
That normally, like, they're not doing L.A., they're not doing San Francisco, but they're doing, what is it, Reno or Tahoe?
They opened up in Reno. Yeah,
yeah, that's odd.
But they were. When was the last time they were here, Rach? Weren't they?
We went to Staples on the 10,000 Days tour.
I think they did one at Club Nokia a few years ago, maybe like 3 years ago.
Not the club, but the other one.
Like when I think that was
Nokia
right around the
Theater.
time when Muse came around. I think it was close to that time. It was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't see that show.
They right. Oh, you know what? I saw them a year ago, actually, at that stupid K-Rock show. What was that called? Over at the racetrack in Pomona.
The Epicenter.
The Epicenter, right? Yeah, I saw them headline there. That's when I realized Maynard was fully MIA, but. Yeah, so you're right. I mean, it's a short tour, but the fact that they're filling arenas still is just unbelievable with no record and none of that stuff, and pretty great stuff.
And Maynard was like not facing the back at all. He was pretty much looking out towards the crowd for a good portion of the show.
You know, I saw a clip of it because it was all up on YouTube. You know, the whole show is. I think. Yeah. I'm not sure if it was that show. Was it that show that was posted on YouTube?
No, I think it was the first show on the tour in Reno.
Yeah, you can see
whatever that show was.
He seems to be. When we saw Perfect Circle just recently at the Jimmy Kimmel show, he was just sort of standing there. You know, it's very similar to the way he was in the clip I saw from Reno, although he was a little bit more towards the drum riser with Tool.
But just to be fair, everybody in a Perfect Circle looked like they were just going through the motions.
No question about it. Absolutely. James Eha was MIA that night as well, so that's very fair. Well, good, man. Glad you had a good Tool experience.
Happy birthday, by the way, belated.
Yeah, absolutely. 12. That's awesome.
How old? Yes, how old were you?
19. So in Canada, I'm now legal.
Wow, good job. Were you hungover on February 2nd?
Well, I didn't have school from about 12 o'clock on my birthday until 9:30 Monday morning, so yes.
Well played.
Good for you, young man.
Well played. Well, thanks for the review. That's awesome. Now I'm jealous. Now I think I'm ready for a Tool show. So I don't know where we're going to go see that, but
well, me and my friend that went to go see it, we went into Toronto for the afternoon, and we stopped in at a music store. And the two guys that were running the drum section, one was really happy and the other one was sad because one had to work that night and the other one was getting off early to go see Tool.
Nice.
Music geeks. You gotta love them.
You gotta love them.
Gotta love them. Cool, man. Thank you, William. Good job tonight, pal.
Not a problem, guys.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later. Yeah, that...
I'd like to see that show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I'm ready for a Tool show, I think. I know Rachel's always ready for a Tool show.
You like that set list?
That's a great set list. That's a great first show.
Yeah, I think... didn't we read... that?
What's like your go-to track? What do you miss from that set list?
I like the Undertow song. Like, my thing is if you're going to play something off of that album, please don't play Sober, because I've seen that so many times live. That's their go-to on that album. Play something different, aside from Prison Sex and Sober, you know, the radio songs. Let's play Bottom. Let's play, you know, like you said, 4 Degrees. That's a good song. Undertow.
That's what diehard fans say about their bands, right? I mean, listen, Joe and I complain about it all the time with all the bands we like. We don't want them to play the same freaking radio songs. You need them to play the deep album tracks.
A couple of tunes, though, that Tool could play every night as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm a big Schism guy. I'm a big Lateralist guy in general. So a lot of that stuff, Parabola, count me in. You could play that every night, and I'll just groove. Especially that intro riff of Schism.
That's pretty good.
I'm in. Every time.
When are we getting that show, do you think? I can imagine not for another year, right?
Probably when the album comes out. Yeah. And you'd think they're like, gotta be like summing up this album pretty soon, finishing it.
You would think so.
They've been saying that for almost a year now, that they're working on it.
Right.
So hopefully within the next year we'll see a tour.
Good. Well, that's exciting. Good.
Well, this time last year, we were probably having the same anxiety and anticipation about a Van Halen record and a Van Halen tour. And now, my
let's
friends,
be clear.
it is upon us.
There was no anxiety.
Well, there was there was anticipation and anxiousness, I should say.
Certainly.
Now, for some lucky folks, I'm still hoping to count myself in the numbers, but I don't know if it's going to happen at this late stage in the game. Some people around LA will get to see the Van Halen Arena show tomorrow night.
Yes.
I'm doing a secret show. Well, it's not so secret, but it's invite only at the Forum, where I guess they've been set up for full production rehearsals, and they're going to unleash the beast, as it will be on Family and Friends and
Friends and Family
and Friends
Such
show
a cute
at
way
the
to
Forum.
put it.
Yeah, we're having a little party at the Forum.
yeah.
If that's not David Lee Roth, I don't know what is.
Remember, you two did that.
Sure.
Yeah, at the sports arena.
Having a little party at the Forum.
Right. All right, so let's hear, Joe. Let's go
All
through
right,
it.
so what I did was, just to kind of put this in perspective, I took 4 of the tracks that began as old demos in 1975. And did, I don't know, you could call it a little mashup, if you will, where I took a little bit of what it was and then morphed it into what it became. So each of these are about a minute long, and I will play each of these, and we can just kind of listen and talk over it. I'm going
to kill the background.
Yeah, we'll kill the background music. This first one is She's the Woman. So you're going to hear it start out how it started in 1975 and then morph into the current version of She's the Woman. What you're going to find most amazing, what I found most amazing about these little mixes, is that not only do they keep the general arrangement and the pace and the pitch the same, but although it's clearly not the original demo, they're clearly re-recording it with modern technology, but they've kept it really true to the original riff. And the only thing you're going to notice that's different is that Dave's voice obviously has changed a little bit, and that Wolfie is handling Mike's parts better than you expect. So here's She's the Woman from Then to Now. $1975. Right?
That's a young Dave.
That's a young Dave. Now listen for Mike.
Now, granted, these are demos.
Now we're in 2012. It's pretty much on the mark.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
He's nailing those vocals.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's, it's close.
It's really close.
It's close.
It's really close.
It's so funny to hear Dave so
he's so up in the register.
Well, he's just so adult now.
Yeah.
He's a grown man.
Yeah.
He's got it's like his balls dropped.
I was really amazed just how close. Again, you could tell obviously the technology and that it's re-recorded. It's not the original demos.
Right.
But the fact that they kept the pace, they didn't slow them down.
No, the tempo's exactly the same.
They kept it in the same key, the same pitch. It's really, really very, very similar on these 4 tracks anyway. Now it gets a little bit more interesting here because on Out of Space. Mm-hmm. This used to be a different song entirely. It used to be called Let's Get Rockin'. So totally different vocals, and the cadence of the melody was very different, although the riff obviously was the same. So again, this is from 75 to now. Let's Get Rockin', morphing into Out of Space. But even then, the guitar sound was pretty fat.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that's the bottom end too. That's
Sure.
a lot of Michael Anthony. It's so funny to hear him sing, and now listening to this record.
And we just morphed.
So now this is Out of Space from the new record.
Right. Pretty good edit, if I do say so myself.
Pretty good. I like him singing so much better here. He doesn't have a chance singing this live, by the way.
I think they'll pull it off.
Not a chance. Yeah, it's good.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, pretty good.
This is one I'm kind of excited about because I know this is one of your favorites on the record. So this is Big Trouble, which became Big River on the new record. So again,
Do we know why they changed the name?
Well, no, not really, because
is it pretty much the same song?
It's pretty much the same song. In fact, I could swear that listening to the new version, there's a couple of times when he actually sings Big Trouble. But I'm not
that
really...
would make sense. He's not the brightest bulb on the tree.
I'm not really sure, but...
I just needed to get that dig in.
But here's
too much Dave praise makes me nuts.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
I got to throw one in
That's
once
fair.
in a while.
Well, here's the comparison. Classic Michael Anthony single note bass line.
Doesn't this song just make you want to put the top down and bang your girlfriend on Ventura Boulevard?
Absolutely.
In double time, by the way. The new version's so much better,
right? I wanted to get you through the chorus on the old.
Yeah,
and now we're going to change up gears. Doesn't it sound like Big Trouble?
No.
It's Big River?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you why. Because Big Trouble, it's almost like an extra syllable.
Yeah.
Big Trouble.
Yeah.
In Big River. It almost makes sense why they changed it. Because Big River's a little bit more... Oh, you need some tunes.
Sure.
Is a little more...
We'll keep it low in the mix.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. It's a great tune, though.
Well, I got one more for you.
Well, then I'm pausing it.
Okay, you go ahead. We'll just get through this.
Song.
This is the one I was most excited about on the record because of those 1975 demos, of which I've been listening to for 35 years or whatever. This was always my favorite unreleased Van Halen track, and I used to play this demo all the time. And to actually have a legitimate version right now is so cool for me. This is almost on par with like Brian Wilson putting out the Smile album. It's like that song exists now.
Right.
It used to be called Put Out the Lights, and now it's even happier, I think, when they changed it around to Beats Workin'. But this is the comparison. It was like a Kiss riff.
Oh, yeah.
It's like calling Dr. Love or
For
something.
sure. It's almost not very Van Halen-like. That's Van Halen.
Love that.
It's funny, they went from Kiss to Van Halen in a New York minute. I think I like this version better.
It's pretty good.
I do. I think I like it better.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
And welcome to today.
Yeah.
I've been reading what the bloggers say. How about a great big slice for me? All the words so professionally. Beats working, starting up my feet. Just working on the rest of me. Live his life like you real. Show now, he's been working for me. Get a land on his seat, give it a land on his seat. That means working, baby. 'Cause we're hot, baby, like it or not. Don't you know that? That means working, baby. 'Cause we're hot.
Oh, whoops. Sorry about that. There we go.
So there you go.
Yeah.
My little comparisons. Rachel raised her hand. Question in the front row.
Sure.
Doesn't that, like the new version of that song you just played, doesn't that kind of remind you of DOA? Like, the instrumental just like totally DOA.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. I think I like what they did with the with sort of the harmonies on the chorus and that, as opposed to the original. And I've loved the original for decades. I really like what they did with that song. They just brought out the pop chorus of it. It just pops off the page.
I like
now.
the rock version of
Do
it a
you?
little better. Yeah,
That's fair.
I do, and it's funny because even going down and going through all the tracks on the album,
Right.
it doesn't rank up there with one of my favorites. Although I like that song,
Yeah.
but I like that version. I like the demo version.
You
better.
like that?
Put Out the Lights much better.
I was very, very much a product of Gene Simmons' production.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the tunes that Gene Simmons produced on their first demo.
That's good.
Which they didn't get a deal from
Right.
that demo. It took the next round of demos for them to actually get their record deal with Warner.
Well, then you can see how they came into their own.
Yeah.
Because while it starts Kiss and morphs into Van Halen, it doesn't really morph into what the Van Halen we know
Yeah,
today.
Gene was certainly throwing the rock and roll over production value at that.
Yeah, and too, it sounds almost tame in the way Eddie's playing and the way the band is playing. They're almost a hair reserved as compared to when he just went, fuck it. I am the real deal. Let me show you.
Yeah.
I mean, he really plays his ass off on this album.
Absolutely.
If we're talking about the new record anyway.
Yeah.
He certainly plays his ass off on it. And listen, it's a great record. Those are really good edits. You're right. And that really makes a lot of sense. It puts it a little bit more into perspective. And again, I don't have a problem with it. I certainly am good with it.
I love that they did that. I think it really, it's almost like they stacked the deck a little bit and said, you know what, we know that there's going to be people after, so many years who say, well, it doesn't sound like old Van Halen. And what better way to just seamlessly, like smooth out the distance between 84 to 2012 to actually put some old songs on there.
I'll say the only thing I don't like about it is not that, but you're right. I think that's a great point. Is that Dave said in a recent interview that he basically just said, we know we're not really as good as we used to be. So we went back.
I didn't read that. That sounds
that's
very un-Dave.
Well, that's pretty much what he said. He just
Really?
said, he just said, we know we're not the band that we used to be, and we're not going to pretend to be. We understand that there's a lot of distance between those guys and these guys in the writing process. It's a little defeatist, and I didn't necessarily need to hear that that's the reason why. I'd much rather hear him say, look, these are fucking great songs.
Yeah,
Any song's a great song.
I'm honestly shocked by that because that's so unlike him. I can't even imagine him saying that. I believe you, but I didn't read that, and that seems very weird for him to say that.
Listen, in having said that, I'm so nitpicking. I mean, let's just, if we're going to stop nitpicking here for a minute, you have to go buy the record. It's really a great record. And if you were on the fence at all about it, you should be blown away. And if you're not, then maybe you're just not you're just a little bit you've changed since your earlier fandom Van Halen
Yeah,
days.
I think that's a reasonable point too, because I know a lot of people who maybe hadn't even heard the record yet, who are already naysaying based on Tattoo or 30 Seconds of Stay Frosty,
Right.
and basically thinking that this is like a comic shell of what the band used to be. And I think you got to ask yourself, did you expect to put on a record in 2012 and hear something that resonates with you? Like 35 years of listening to Ain't Talking About Love, or 35 years of listening to Running with the Devil. You need some time with new music. It's not going to be it's not going to instantly be part of your DNA, and I think a lot of people were expecting that.
But this fits right into the
It
early
does.
catalog of Van Halen.
It absolutely
and
does.
if you were a fan of that early era of Van Halen, you almost have to love this record because it's really the perfect. It really fits nicely in the catalog.
Yeah.
And I would say this, there's going to be a lot of people out there that aren't going to dig it because they're just not in that place anymore. They loved Van Halen when they were 18, 19, and 20, and now they're, 40-something or whatever, 50-something, and it doesn't matter what they put out, it's not going to be good enough.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I liked Look What the Cat Dragged In when it came out. I thought it was a really good record.
Sure.
If they put out Look What the Cat Dragged In Part 2 today, I probably just wouldn't be into it. It just wouldn't work for me.
That makes perfect sense.
And it's got nothing to do with the first album.
because
I'm
we're
just in a different place.
Because we're in a different place.
And because I'm a lot better looking now than I think I was then.
Well, that's certainly true. How can anyone argue with that?
I mean, listen, when I stay frosty,
Yeah.
I choogle like nobody's business.
Absolutely. Plus, in 2012, when you look in the mirror, you don't see Steve Perry anymore. So that's good.
That's really true. It's true. Well, I do see Steve Perry just with a little extra weight. How's that?
I totally get your point, and I will say that while I was excited about this record all along, it far surpassed what I thought I was going to get, and even more than the music, something weird happened along the way. When I first got it, I had these weird little high school flashbacks of that excitement of getting a new Van Halen record at Music Plus,
Right.
or hearing Jim Ladd play a track on KMUT or something like that. I got that excitement of here it is.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to enjoy the music, and like I said, the music was much better than I expected, but I didn't count on that sort of X factor of, God, this really does bring me back to the excitement of when each of those early records came out, and I had the coveted vinyl or CD or whatever in my hand, and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
It was very exciting.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, maybe just to wrap it up a little bit.
Sure.
I would say this, that I can't possibly fathom saying to myself tonight on the air, February 7th, 2012, that 28 years after the last Van Halen record with David Lee Roth, that this record is that good.
Yeah.
That's almost, I don't think you can find a band, if you really think about it, that you could say that about, or that you really thought could actually pull it off. It's a tremendous feat to pull off what they just did.
Yeah.
28 years later, put it in perspective, 28 years later, I'm 41 years old. How old was I when I was 28 years ago, Joe?
3.
There you go. You know what I mean? And I changed my own diapers back then. But 28 years ago, where were you 28 years ago? It's an unbelievable amount of time between albums with that singer. And to come up with these 12 songs, I don't give a fuck when they were written. It's
13.
Absolutely impressive.
13?
What?
13 songs?
13. Is it 13 songs?
Whatever.
Is it?
What's a few songs between friends?
All I'm saying is that for them to come up with those songs, regardless of when they were written, it's really an unbelievable feat.
Totally with you. Very exciting. It's a good time to be a rock music fan.
Sure. Yeah, well, there's not a record out there like this.
No.
I can certainly
there's
say
not.
that. But we should talk about, let's be done with Van Halen. You like the record? The Van Halen record?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, you like it, Rach?
Pretty good.
Thumbs up, thumbs down from what you've heard?
From what I've heard, it's awesome. It's super heavy.
Good.
And it's the old Van Halen you know and love.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
totally true.
We agree. But you want to do a track or you want to go to
No, why don't we take a little break? Let's
What
catch
time
up.
is it?
It's we're an hour into the show.
an hour, a little over an hour?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All
Let's
right.
take a little break, and
This is a good tune.
when we come back, we'll talk a little bit of
talk Ghost, Scale Summit,
Scale Summit,
and Flying Colors.
Flying Colors.
Fucking Flying Colors.
You want a choice?
No, just hit me.
Just hit me?
Yeah.
All right. Little UFO. Self-made man. Enjoy.
Yeah, sure. Jude Law.
And this one's heavy.
Used Bin Radio. What are you listening to?
Hey, we're back.
Hi,
It's the Used Bin. And you're in it.
it's Brad and Joe and Rachel, the Metal Warrior Princess.
The gang's all here.
That's right. Hey, the phone numbers, if you want to call, it's probably a good time to do that. 888-405-7440. Email usedbinradio@usedbin.com. Usedbinradio@usedbin.com.
Because we want to know what you have been listening to. And brother man,
Yeah,
I've been meaning to ask you, other than Van Halen,
it's a simple question.
other than Van Halen, of
Keep
course,
it simple.
what else have you personally, yourself, this week been listening to?
Well, let me tell you, I did listen to a bunch of stuff this week, but only a couple things I wanted to talk about. I listened to the Flying Colors CD. Now, the Flying Colors CD is one, Michael J. Portnoy III, Dr. Monsignor.
Esquire.
That's right. Along with Steve Morris and Dave LaRue, Neil Morris, and the singer is Casey McPherson of Alpha Rev. So this is the project that we talked about this last week because Joe listened to it a week before I did, a little fucker. And
Choogler. We like to say Choogler in these parts.
you call it a choogler, I call it a pluker. You say pluk, I say choog.
You say tomato, I say Choogler.
That's right. Anyway, so I got a chance to listen to it, and we've known about this project for a long time, almost
About
I think,
36 years. I think this has been in the making since before Van
30 years.
Halen's last album with Dave.
30 years.
30 years.
It was, I think we knew about this before Adrenaline Mob, actually, where they
Sure.
talked about getting together. So this was something we were always looking forward to. And my initial impression, from what I understood of this album, was it was going to be a very, the pop side of Portnoy was going to come out. And that's sort of the people he put together to do
The
this.
pop side of Portnoy.
Yeah. Well, he's very diverse. His portfolio is extremely diversified.
He certainly does have a diversified portfolio.
Yeah. So let me just say something. As excited as I was to listen to it, it didn't even come close to how much I loved it. I
pretty
fucking
great.
love it. I
pretty
can't
great.
get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. I can't stop listening to it. I can't do it. It's so good.
Don't even try.
I just love it. I really do. The only thing that stopped me from listening to it was the new Van Halen record.
Yeah.
Because if this was 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks from now,
It would have been all
it's the
Flying
o-
Colors all the time.
It's the only thing I could listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a unbelievably, stupidly catchy record.
It's funny how that'll happen sometimes, too. We'll go a couple of months with a few interesting releases here and there, something we're kind of like mildly excited about, or something that maybe is a guilty pleasure that we'll listen to a little bit, but nothing that blows us away for a few weeks or a few
Right.
months.
Sure.
And then two of them come out at the same time and
Well-
just monopolize all our time.
Right. And in fairness, this record technically, not technically, it is not officially released until, I think, March 26th.
That's right.
And so this is just an advanced sort of screener copy that we got to listen to. And, I mean, it's just, I can't say enough about it. And I almost feel guilty praising it as much as I am because not everybody who's listening to this gets to listen to it yet.
Right.
So I feel a little bit bad, but it's not going to stop me.
And
Just
for,
so you
for,
know.
for the sake of full disclosure here, we promised their publicist we would not air it, and we won't until closer to the release date. But I'll just say that when we approach the release date, we'll have something big and special planned for you all involving Flying Colors, and I'll just leave it at that.
Right. And it's very, first of all, that's very exciting. But secondly, this record, you will be so excited. And I want to reiterate, it's almost like a very modern alternative pop record with a little bit of prog fusion thrown in.
Question for you.
Answers.
How well versed or knowledgeable were you about Casey McPherson and Alpha Rev?
Just a little bit. I did listen to it, and I'll tell you the
prior
reason.
prior
I
to
did.
Flying Colors?
The reason was because when I saw the EPK, which is industry terminology for electronic press kit, which is on the internet. Which,
video preview on YouTube is the slang.
It's all right. It's all over the place. But when I saw that and I realized who Casey McPherson was, I went and I started listening to Alpha Rev on Spotify. And Alpha Rev is good. They're fine. They're very good, actually. I mean, I'm not going nuts, falling all over myself for it, but he's such a different singer for a band that Portnoy's been involved with.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's far from the 12 octave range of
this is
Sir Russell.
This is not soaring metal vocals. This is not progressive intensity.
Why am I drawing a blank?
Who?
Symphony X.
Russell Allen.
Russell Allen.
Russell Allen. No, I
got confused.
This is not that at all. This is a real, genuine alternative pop vocalist.
Well, he's not Neil Morris.
It's almost like he wandered into the wrong room. It feels like, like there was like a bunch of prog guys were jamming, and then this guy walked into the wrong room, and the chemistry just worked.
If you notice, Portnoy was like, if you watch the EPK, he talks about it. Portnoy was the one that knew everybody in the band, and he sort of put this thing together. Nobody really knew Casey McPherson, and the Morrises didn't know each other. Steve didn't know Neil. And obviously Steve knew Dave LaRue, but that was really, Portnoy was the one guy that connected all those dots.
And Joni knew Chachi.
Joni loves Chachi.
She does. She still does. Does she still?
No.
No, probably not.
She might.
might.
Where's Erin Moran these days?
I see her every once in a while on these, where are they now kind of things. And I just cut to the chase and say, I'll bet Joni might still love Chachi, but Chachi has no interest in Joni.
No.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
Chachi likes a lot of Jonis. Let's just say that. And a lot of Jonis seem to like Chachi.
Sure.
So good for Scott Baio.
All right.
But anyway, he's so far from the singers that you've heard with any bands that Mike's
Scott
been
Baio?
involved with.
Scott Baio, yeah.
He's a good singer. Just John Stamos.
Hey, Charles is in charge.
And it's just a weird thing. And so it makes it turns this record into an alternative album.
It does.
So here's the thing.
Yep.
The songs immediately that stood out for me is the first song, Blue Ocean.
Right.
Is tremendous,
which is a little, and again, not to like beat people over the head with the fact that we've heard it and you haven't, but we're gonna do it anyway.
That's exactly what we're doing.
But that's the only track that for just a minute I was misled as to where this record was going, because the opening, you hear Neil Morse at the very beginning of the song, which led me to believe that for at least a few seconds I thought, all right, so we're going in a sort of transatlantic direction where Neil is going to be, providing his vocals and his melodies, and everybody else is going to sort of back him. And it couldn't be further. It's sort of misleading for the first 30 seconds.
Well, the bass line that opens up the album is you immediately, at least I did anyway. I immediately got like a fusion feel to it.
Yeah.
It feels jazzy.
Yeah.
And the first
Very
half of the
Spock's
song, first half, this feels very jazzy. But then the chorus is just such a great pop chorus. It just soars. And the other song that, well, really, to me, the song on the album, the actual absolute mainstay on this album is the fourth song, which is The Storm. And that is just, it's another one of those things I wake up every morning and that song is in my head, and Van Halen's Big River is in my head. And I just can't seem to get them out of there. When I go to put on the Flying Colors record, I will start with The Storm, and then I'll start at the beginning of the record and go all the way through. But that's great. The 11th track, Infinite Fire, a 12-minute track, by the way, a 12-minute sort of pop track, which about 4.5 minutes in, they go into this weird, like, fusion jazz place where
that's an 8 Bites song right there.
Well, you know what's funny about it? I kept thinking it was like, God, they hold back the whole record, and it's almost like they went, all right, fuck it, we got to do it for at least 3 minutes. And then Steve Morris and Neil Morris and Dave LaRue and those guys went on their little merry jazz fusion prog way, and that was it. That was that track. But for anybody looking for some long tracks on it, the last track it's a good 12-minute track, and it's well worth it. So. Well worth the wait. You guys will be very excited. March 26th, the record comes out. And I can't speak highly enough about it. It's just great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was really impressed. It's much, much poppier and much more immediately digestible than some of the projects that we've gotten from them before. Not to say that it's anything bad about the other projects, but this one right out of the box, I think you love it. Whereas some of the other stuff, you have to give it some time. You have to give it the Steven Wilson treatment. You got to give it your undivided attention for long periods of time.
That stuff's a little more complicated.
Yeah, this just put it on, rock out, and an hour later you're gonna have half a dozen new favorite songs.
Yeah, it's weird. It's got almost it's got like an alternative Journey, Toto kind of feel to it.
And then there's that one song that's like a Jellyfish tune.
Kaylee.
No. K-Love, but that's not the one. That's a good pop tune. But no, what's the? You don't have the tracks?
No, I don't.
It's like track 6. It's like I forget the name. It's a Jellyfish tune. Like wow,
I don't know the one you're talking
there's
about.
a lot going on here.
Well, that Kayla tune is the super that's the one where Jesus Christ. And it sounds like that from reading a little bit more about the album. That's the first track that they wrote. So, yeah, very good. Very exciting record. I think everybody will be thrilled to death when they hear the album. So just don't expect Adrenaline Mob, Dream Theater, or Transatlantic, or you'll be disappointed. Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, it's a nice AOR album. Right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so that's good.
What else have you been listening to?
I listened to today on Spotify. They once you open your Spotify, it's sort of the opening page is a little different now, where they have like what's new, and they have like 5 little album covers that you can click onto. Well, I just know it catches my eye always, so I always click through them every day to see if there's anything new on there.
Let me ask you a question. I don't know if you know the answer. Are they selling those coveted spots as advertising, or is it this like a Pandora learning thing where it's making suggestions based on what you've listened to before? Because that would be cool.
Yeah, no, that's not. That's not it. So anyway, I saw the Styx Live Grand Illusion and Live Pieces of 8 album was up there.
Okay.
So, all right, I'm going to listen to it. Love Grand Illusion, love Pieces of 8.
I loved him when Dennis DeYoung was on the
and I know it was recorded last year, but I'm a fucking sucker, so I'm in.
So how was it?
It was really good.
Oh, okay, good.
It was really good. It's not Dennis DeYoung, so
right.
some of the pageantry and the drama is taken out of those songs.
The Broadway.
It doesn't quite have. Yeah, but that's what makes those songs so great.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it doesn't quite have that, but it's really good. Tommy Shaw's really good. It sounds great. The recordings are excellent. The production on them is good. And, like Miss America, which is really, without listening to it, and you say, oh, well, they did Grand Illusion, then you think of Miss America. That's the one where they really missed Dennis DeYoung. I mean, that's a big soaring chorus. And
well,
that's Dennis.
Miss America? That's James Young, though.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Well, let me tell you something.
Maybe you think Come Sail Away?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's not Grand Illusion, is it?
Yeah.
That is Grand Illusion. No. Miss America is James Young?
Yeah. JY.
Let me tell you.
We call him JY.
JY.
Yeah.
No, not so much so on this album.
Maybe he just doesn't sound the same anymore. Maybe that's the deal.
It's not so good.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's the one where
funny.
You go.
That's the funniest part because he's actually one of the few guys that's still there. He's the only original member.
It doesn't sound so good. That's the one track.
Wow, because Tommy Shaw, obviously not an original member.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that. He came in around Crystal Ball, I believe. But, JY, the only original member, and one of his signature songs, if that's the low point of the new live album,
for sure,
that's very telling, because it means he doesn't sound... they always gave him... He was never a great singer, JY, I'll be honest. He's a great guitar player, great writer, but they always gave him one song on each record, sort of like Ringo. They always gave him one song on each record to shine. Yeah. Miss America was one. Later it was... what was that one?
On what album?
On, I think it was on Kilroy. It was heavy metal poisoning. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? That was where he played like the PMRC priest against.
I really don't like that record.
Yeah, it's a rough record, but he had that song.
Yeah.
And I think on Pieces of 8, I think he did The Great White Hope.
Yeah, that's good. That Pieces of 8 was good too. By the way, I thought they really did it justice. It's just weird.
Oh, and on he did another one on Paradise Theater. He did Half Penny, Two Penny.
Oh yeah, that's a good tune.
Yeah, he always had one tune sort of on each album and tried to make that his signature sound.
Well, Miss America, he didn't quite pull it off. Not in 2011.
Very interesting.
Anyway.
Very interesting.
But all in all, I would say that for someone who, I was really hesitant to listen to those records. I listened to it because it was literally put in front of my face, and all I had to do was click. Yeah. So that's the only reason I listened to it. I'm really glad I did. It was really good.
I'm curious to hear it. Maybe not
worth
Miss
it.
America, but the rest of it.
Yeah, no, listen, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it.
That's the beauty of Spotify, I suppose.
I would have liked to have seen that show. I know that sounds weird now.
No,
I guess
not at all.
maybe
Not at
in
all.
retrospect, I would have liked to have seen it.
That's one of those bands that back in the Dennis DeYoung years. I mean, I used to see them every tour,
right?
And that was a big event. In fact, one year I think it was called the Main Event Tour, but it was always a big deal when they came through town, played an arena. Unlike Van Halen, Styx always used to have amazing opening acts, and that's always been like a point of comedy with Van Halen, especially in the Dave years. They used to have intentionally horrible opening acts, but Styx, you would get.
Good thing to know they haven't strayed from the formula.
Yeah, right. But Styx, I mean, we would get, like one year we got the debut tour of a new band called The Cars. Another year it was like a great set from April Wine. They just always had these great opening acts. So it was always a big night out. And I used to go every tour, even like when Tommy was out of the band and they were, it was just Dennis and the guys. And then when they all got back together and we saw them at the Greek. That was a great show. Great show. But I was curious, and so I went to see them a few tours ago post Dennis, figuring how bad could it be. It just I haven't heard the new live recording, so maybe they sound fine. And to be fair, when I was at that show without Dennis, it sounded okay. It just didn't excite me. Dennis was always the excitement.
He's a guy that's got all that charisma, and he's another one of those few guys. He doesn't have to move around too much,
right?
But he's got it.
Yeah,
he's got that thing.
He's got the X factor.
He really does, and he's really, when we saw him at the Canyon Club, just him doing all the Styx songs. Lee and I went. I mean, I can't tell you. I walked out of there. I was so blown away, and I figured he'd probably sound good, But it's just the guy in a room. He's magnetic. He's got that thing.
Yeah.
And he may look silly, and he does, but he's got that thing.
Yeah.
So when he plays those songs,
you're riveted.
Very vindictive.
Yeah,
you're
he
riveted. Sings it with passion, and he's meaningful.
And if we were talking about Danny Carey, the love child, earlier, and how he was the culmination of so many influential parts. Right. I've always felt that Dennis DeYoung is sort of in a way, he's sort of the love child of Billy Joel and Phil Collins. He's just got that thing.
Yeah.
That even when he goes off the cheese deep end,
right, which he did,
you still go, yeah, but it's Dennis, and it's pretty great.
It's funny, when we saw him at that club and he did Lady.
Right.
It's how many times do you think he's given the same fucking rap before that song?
Oh, and
it's the first song
and Come Sail Away.
In my garage in Chicago.
Yeah.
I sat down at the piano and I came up with this song. It's called Lady, right?
Yeah.
He's done that 47,000 times. It was as convincing as the first time he probably ever said it. I was 100% convinced that he just made that up just before the show.
Absolutely.
And that's
like he just lets you in on a little secret.
It's true. It's good.
That's true.
And by the way, he nailed it.
Of course he did. He's Dennis DeYoung.
It helps. It's you can tell a good story, but if you can't nail it, it takes a little bit of bite out of it.
Yes.
But he certainly knocks it out of the park.
Yes.
But anyway, those records are pretty good. Sans Dennis DeYoung, they're pretty good.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I listened to the Ringo record.
Which one? The new one?
The new one. 20. Was it called 2012?
2012, which is very appropriate.
Why?
Because he's a Rush fan. Oh, I don't know.
I listened to it on the suggestion of our friend Jason Markey, actually.
Okay.
Who I saw this week, and I listened to it. I didn't love it. I don't know why I don't like any Ringo records.
It's funny. I've never really loved Ringo records either. When you put on his greatest hits, you go, all right, he had some hits, but they just don't excite me. It's sort of, and this is a weird thing to say, it's sort of like listening to like the Stones doing Honky Tonk Woman and Satisfaction. It's like, oh yeah, I know those from a million years ago, but it's far from it getting me excited.
No, but when you see it live,
yeah,
it's got that bite to it.
Yeah, that's true.
This, on the other hand,
When I hear Ringo do like Photograph or You're 16, it's like, yeah, I know this song's from a million years ago, but I'm not blown away.
No.
It's not like they're a part of my like my being and my essence or anything.
And he's got a pretty large solo catalog.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and there's a part of me, I read the interview in M Magazine.
And he's got some good musician friends.
Great musician friends, absolutely. The All-Star bands are pretty good. Puts together a pretty solid band. I mean, So I read the article in M Magazine. He's on the cover and he's the big interview. And I thought it was really good. I thought it was a good interview, and it made me excited to listen to the record. And then I ran into our buddy Jason, and I finally listened to it. I don't know. Look, he's fucking Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
There's only 2 Beatles left, and he's one. So say what you want. But I thought one of the interesting things about that interview was the guy asked him about the Beatle remasters. And he said how much he loves the remasters. Fucking just absolutely loves them. And the guy said, why are you so partial to the remasters? He said, well, because you can finally hear the drums. He said, and the funny thing about that is, and he said, not to be completely egocentric, but, for years everybody said I was a bad drummer. He said, if you listen to that, I'm playing some pretty good stuff. And he's probably right.
Good for him.
Probably gets a bad rap.
Good for him.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. It was a good article. If you haven't read it yet,
what he doesn't know is that some of the stuff that sounds the best were probably the takes that Paul came into the room for when he wasn't around.
It's possible. Hey, look, I mean, dude, you're in a band with John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Anything you do that's good and noticeable, you've done well.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to do much that's going to be good and noticeable when you're in a band with those guys. Speaking of McCartney, obviously McCartney will be at the Grammys, and
so will Ringo.
Yes, and Ringo. But
Interesting.
McCartney will be playing.
Yeah.
So he did say, I read something recently with McCartney, just the other day, in fact. He said sometimes he's still blown away by the fact that he was in the Beatles. He said, sometimes I get blown away. He said, I was watching the Scorsese documentary on George Harrison.
Right.
He said, and I'm watching it, and there was a picture of all of us in a room together. And I thought to myself, that was fucking me. Like, I was in the Beatles. And it was, coming from McCartney, who's so far from, the Mr. Arrogant, I was in the Beatles. He's quite the opposite of that guy.
A comment like that actually means something
it really
when he
does.
says it.
It really does. It was really, it was quite tender, actually, to hear him say, I can't believe I was in the Beatles.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very much unlike, maybe Sting saying, I can't believe I was in the Police.
Or Gene Simmons.
Yeah, Gene Simmons. I can't believe I was on The Elder.
No, I can't believe you don't know that I am Kiss.
I can't believe it's not Butter.
Right. It's just so great to hear somebody like McCartney take the opposite stance on that. And,
right.
It's fucking Paul McCartney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude's pretty good.
Or Michael Anthony going, I can't believe I was in Van Halen.
No. Can't believe I'm in Chickenfoot.
Can't believe
That's what he's saying.
Can't believe I'm in Chickenfoot. Yeah, I bet he can't believe he's in Chickenfoot.
Dude, talk about lucky. Dude, you don't get much luckier than that. It's a pretty serious fucking rock band right there.
Yeah, to lose one great gig and end up in another is pretty cool.
He didn't lose a gig.
Kind of lost it.
No, he got fired.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it was
for nothing that he did.
Oh no! I didn't mean it that way. Yeah. He didn't do anything bad. He didn't get a slap on the wrist. But it was his gig and it was taken away from him.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Listen, that's what happens when the name of the band is the last name of the guitar player and drummer.
That's true.
That's the way it goes.
That's true.
So. That's it. What have you been listening to? That's about all.
Other than a lot of Flying Colors and a lot of Van Halen, only 2 other things really registered this week, and one of them was a lot of time that I've been spending, a reasonable amount of time with the Iron Maiden B-Sides collection. Now, if you remember, I don't know, quite a few years ago, they put out a very limited edition box set called Eddie's Archives.
Right.
And it was 6 discs, and 2 discs were like all their old BBC sessions, which is very nice and very cute, and I never listened to it anymore.
Right.
And then 2 discs were the entire show of the Number of the Beast tour, 1982 at Hammersmith Odeon.
Good tour.
Which is a great set list,
yeah.
and it's Bruce's first tour with the band, and that's a classic. But then there's 2 discs of B-sides, and there's a lot of like lost gems there because a lot of bands, their B-sides should be B-sides, but Maiden had a lot of quality stuff, especially during the Di'Anno years. Some of the B-sides early on were just as good as the stuff they put on Killers or the first Iron Maiden record.
Right.
And then some of the stuff that pops up later in the Bruce years are there's some interesting covers. Now, we've talked many times about Cross-Eyed Mary, the Jethro Tull cover.
Sure.
But, their cover of the Nectar song is just ridiculous.
Well, it's so weird.
It's so weird that they would even cover Nectar.
A Nectar song.
And they do the King of Twilight.
And it's weird to hear Nectar do it now, by
Sure.
the way. That's the odd thing. Maiden has made that song a Maiden song.
Yeah. But there were just a lot of great tunes there that I was listening to, a lot of them for the first time, just going, God, I don't think I've ever really listened to this or paid attention to this. And one of them that stood out was probably, hands down, the goofiest Maiden song ever. And I think it's called the Sheriff of Huddersfield. And it's basically, it sounds like they got in a room and they were making fun of their manager, Rod Smallwood.
Right.
And it just sounds to me, anyway, like a whole 4-minute barrage of inside jokes and put downs about Rod. and maybe he's from Huddersfield. I don't know how that all works or why they called it the Sheriff of Huddersfield, but it's clearly a bunch of inside jokes.
Right.
But the riff is great.
Right,
classic Steve Harris riff, classic Maiden tune.
It's not galloping, right?
It's kind of galloping.
No, there's no galloping.
But it's easily the funniest and most comic Iron Maiden song ever. So worth the listen if you could track that down. Maybe it's up on YouTube or something like that. And then the other thing that I did, which was weird, but it's something that in the back of my mind I've always meant to do, and I finally got around to it. Shortly after I spent a few minutes doing the editing on those Van Halen comparison clips that we heard earlier, I was sort of in audio editing mode, and I put together, with the seamless edits that I believe were originally intended, all of the pieces off of the different Dream Theater albums that make up the 12-step suite, so that it's a 55-minute piece of continuous music in one track.
Nice.
With and it's seamless because some of the ends, while they seemed abrupt before to some of the pieces, it really works with the intro much more than I realized to the next piece of the story. And so I put that whole thing together, and I got to say I have a much greater appreciation for all of those pieces because I didn't realize just how much foresight went in. In other words, when you listen to the fifth and final piece, obviously it has little bits and pieces of the 4 pieces that you've already heard. But when I go back and listen to The Glass Prison or This Dying Soul or The Root of All Evil, I can really kind of see there were already little bits and things, pieces tying it all together. It's really a very coherent piece, and I would love to hear, Portnoy at some point. I don't know if it's with Dream Theater or what band, but someday he's gonna want to play that thing in its entirety.
That was going to be my question. Do you think, in your opinion, obviously it's a question for Portnoy, I get that, but you think that there was a chance that would have been a Dream Theater? You think they would have done that one
Absolutely.
time? Yeah,
absolutely, no question. And in fact,
I think so too.
I think in the back of his mind, I would be shocked if Portnoy hadn't already worked out the date, probably corresponding with his sobriety of the night that was going to be played. Right. Because as we know, he'd worked out in his head years before it happened the night that they were going to perform Images and Words for his 15th anniversary, or the night that we saw them do when Dream and Day Unite, which I think was the 20th anniversary of its release.
He's big on dates.
He's big on dates. He's big on special shows, performing something unique to commemorate something. And I guarantee that he had worked out long before they had even finished recording those pieces, maybe as early as The Glass Prison. He already knew the date when he was going to be playing that, and I'd bet it was probably...
Do you have a I want to hear a copy of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to hear that for sure. That's that's good. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there was a chance he would do that. I have a hard time seeing him do it without Dream Theater, but who knows? I mean,
who knows?
Anything's game at this, with him.
I would be equally as shocked if Dream Theater performed any part of that without Portnoy.
Oh, I don't think so. That's very personal to him.
It is, and it's weird because I remember like on the Score 20th anniversary tour, Octavarium tour, whatever.
Right.
They were opening the show, I believe, with The Root of All Evil.
Right.
So it was, it's a good rockin' tune on its own, totally out of context of this suite. And it just seems like a great Dream Theater song that they could play anytime. But I'll bet it's kind of a hands-off kind of thing. I'll bet they stay away from those 5 songs.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Just because we know how personal those songs are to Mike, I would hope that they would respect that and not play any of that. I think they would. I don't know. You know what, man? I can't see them doing it. It would feel like an intentional dig.
Yeah.
If they did.
Yeah.
How's that? While they're worthy of being played, it just feels like that's
worthy.
that's an intentional dig at Mike. I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm not good with that. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good stuff to listen to.
So listen to all of that, and then we saw a couple of shows in the last couple of days that we should talk about. Why don't you bring people up to speed on scale?
We bailed out of here Tuesday night. We ran as fast as we could, and let me tell you, we were tired by the time we got to the Whiskey after our show here last Tuesday night. We went up to the Whiskey A Go-Go on Sunset and saw a little Scale the Summit, little instrumental progressive fusion, if you will. A little more progressive rock than fusion, I would think. And it was pretty good.
Very complex instrumental music.
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah.
Listen, it's first I'll just say this. For a Tuesday night on the Sunset Strip at the Whiskey, probably not the biggest night to be playing. The room was...
There's no big night for prog on the Sunset Strip. Let's be honest. When was the last time you really saw progressive rock on the Sunset Strip? I'd have to go back.
True.
I'd have to go back 15 years to Liquid Tension at the Roxy.
Yeah, that's true. No, there's definitely that. I just mean in general, it's not a...
Tuesday night on the Sunset Strip is generally about Aquanet.
Yeah, well, Tuesday night on the Strip's about not much. There's not... I mean, it's not really a big night to go out and see a band.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like... it's not Thursday night, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Friday night, obviously. But
Monday night.
I thought, Monday night's no Bozo Jams at the Whiskey.
No Bozo Jams at the Whiskey.
Free at the Whiskey to come and see your favorite band, and 8 or 10 bands would do 4 songs or whatever.
We used to play the No Bozo Jam back in the Dr. Star days.
Good time.
It would be Dr. Star along with guys from Warrant and Tough and Nitro and Kick Tracy and Paradise.
They used to play that thing a lot.
Yeah,
Kick Tracy did.
Sure.
So they would go work out different tunes.
Sure.
And a lot of bands would do it under, a lot of the bigger bands on the Strip at that time would do it under different names because they're so famous. They didn't want anyone to know that they could see them for free. Anyway,
although it was always a giveaway, if we're being honest. If you heard that quote unquote the Down Boys are doing a secret show at the Whiskey, we kind of knew what was going on.
They weren't very creative.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. 33 pennies is playing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. But a lot of people, and I was one of them, that was just part of your routine. You just go to the No Bozo Jam. It didn't really matter who was playing.
Right.
You just went.
Right.
Because it was free, and you could see a ton of bands.
And then you had more money in your pocket for beer.
And chicks. And hookers with penises. It's so hot. Which actually is a fair thing to say because about 3 blocks down from Sunset, La Brea and Santa Monica actually was a big hooker with penis area.
Oh, okay.
The Carl's Jr.
Santa Monica?
Right. The little corner there was Carl's Jr. and then I think there was the car wash right across the street. And that
car
was
wash,
Yeah, huge.
Is it still like that?
No.
I was just checking to see if you knew.
No, it's not. I mean, it wasn't as of last night anyway. It was dead quiet down there.
Beauty, eh?
Yeah. Well, $10 is $10. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Anyway, so I thought it was a pretty. What I was getting at here is that it was a pretty nice crowd. I thought for a Tuesday night at the Whiskey, the band did really well. And like you said, prog on the Sunset Strip is such a foreign concept that you almost walk in there and you have to do a double take. Like, is this really what's going on right now?
One of the most vivid memories of last Tuesday night was when we got there, and like you said, we ran out of the studio and we got up there as quick as we could. And to our credit, we got there probably about 10 minutes before they actually hit the stage, which was great because I thought for sure we were going to get there mid-set. And when we were standing out front before we walked in for this heavy dose of progressive rock, in typical Sunset Strip fashion, a weeknight at the Whiskey means a mixture of all kinds of bands. You could have a metal band, a pop band, a prog band, whatever, whoever they could get to play. And so it was no mystery to me that while we were standing out there just before they went on, every girl in the place left because they were there to see some other band, and they were not sticking around for instrumental progressive rock.
It's true.
We literally saw, like 15 girls leave just before that band went on.
Yeah. It's not a chick show. I mean, it's not a chick-centric show.
Yeah.
Listen, that band
Current company excluded.
Yes, of course, obviously. Well, look, when you're the Metal Warrior
Princess,
everything is fair game.
Everything is fair game.
Yeah,
that's true.
You pretty much call
that's
the shots.
True. Yeah,
so.
she does. She calls the shots.
Yeah, that's what Paul Shatina said.
Yeah.
Who's calling the shots?
That's what the MWP said.
That's right.
Okay.
I thought the band was really good.
Yeah.
If I have one complaint about Scale the Summit, it would be that it's not even that there's not a lot of stage presence there, because there's only so much you can do with instrumental product. There's a lot of music being played, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of notes, a lot of things happening. It's that sometimes their songs feel like they plod along. There's not a lot of flow to the songs. Like, you get this part,
there's a lot of intensity, there's a lot of notes, and
it's played well
in an almost unsatisfying way. The song starts someplace, goes someplace else, and never really brings you back so that it feels like a fully realized arrangement.
Yeah.
It's more like a really intense workout without really kind of reprising where you started. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's finished.
If I could and if I could put it this way, it would be like each they play one part, which is like a paragraph, and then they move on to the next paragraph without any flow going into one another. And so you're right, and they never come back to the beginning. They never bring you right back to where you need to go, to where you go, oh yeah, I see how this song moved along. We started here, we got there. The beauty of progressive rock, and I know that you'll make a joke about this at some point, but the beauty about 28-minute Neil Morse songs is that it does that plenty of times.
It does.
And
I will give you that.
He always makes sure that you know that you may have started here, you may end up there, but at some point you'll always come back to where we started.
Yeah.
And it feels realized.
If there's one thing you cannot fault Neil Morse for, it's like
arrangements.
It's like, here's the chorus. Don't worry, you're gonna hear it again.
Right. That's right. That's the way it should be.
Lots of times.
Yeah, that's okay. That's the way it should be.
In different keys, at different tempos, and with different arrangements. But this is the chorus. You're gonna hear it again.
Anything under 14 and a half minutes for Neil Morse isn't worth my listening.
That's a ballad.
Just let you know. That's called a demo.
And no, nothing wrong with Scale the Summit. Great players. Yeah. They're just amazing players.
And they're young.
They're young, so they'll learn.
We saw that.
We got to throw them a Neil Morse record.
Sure.
Yeah.
We saw those guys. Well, I want to say this too. I think it takes. You heard this before?
I've heard this before.
Have you? It's really funny.
Here's the chorus.
That really happens.
You're gonna hear it again.
Doesn't that happen to us a lot?
Yeah.
Where we end up talking about something, and sure enough, it pops up on the iPod.
It's called serendipity.
That's right. I think it takes unbelievable, tremendous courage to be able to get in a van and book a tour without singing a note. Yeah. It's strictly instrumental progressive rock in 2012.
Not even talking much. I mean, he even made a point. I don't think you could call him the lead singer, but one of the guys.
Right. The focal.
Yeah, basically said, we got a lot of music to play for you tonight. We don't have much talking for you tonight, so we're just going to get right to it.
It was the Geddy Lee. It's the Geddy Lee version.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see everyone again.
We have a million songs, and here we go.
Got a lot of songs for you tonight, so we're going to get right to it. This is called
Taishan.
You're
waiting for that moment.
Again, it just takes a lot of nuts to be able to do that, to be able to go out and tour and play progressive instrumental music like that. So I give him a lot of credit, and I certainly hope it catches on. I'd like to see more of that. I think it's cool.
And then I went to another show up on the Sunset Strip a couple of nights ago. I went to the Roxy for a very interesting evening of scary music. 3 bands. The headliner was Ghost, and for all intents and purposes, this was really sort of their first tour in America. Apparently, the last time when they tried to come here, they had visa issues. Somehow they ended up doing a one-off show.
They should get MasterCards.
Yeah, right. They did a one-off show somewhere at a festival on the East Coast, but that was just a one-off short set. So this was, for all intents and purposes, their first tour. And I gotta be honest.
Real scary tour.
Well, I gotta be honest. the devotion of the fan base was not something that I was expecting. I thought, well, this is a newish band, an unknown quantity here in the States, and a few people will turn out out of curiosity. This was not that. This was like the word was out on these guys, and the only thing I could compare it to, and this is a weird comparison, but it was sort of like the first time Iron Maiden came here with Paul Di'Anno. I've told you I went to that tour. They were opening for UFO, and I was there strictly for UFO. But half of the Long Beach Arena had Iron Maiden T-shirts on, and they had never been here before. But the word was sort of out on this.
That was pre-internet.
But it was like that because I went there expecting a half-empty crowd on a weeknight, and the place was capacity.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that with the internet, is the word on these bands, because you can hear them so easily now through whatever, Spotify, Bandcamp, anything, that it's so much easier to get that rabid fan base.
That's true. I just didn't realize they had it.
Right.
So I was genuinely shocked when we got down. We knew they weren't going to be going on.
They're Swedish, right?
I'm not positive. I think so. They're not from Norway, right? They're from Sweden? Okay. So we knew they weren't going to be going on till well after 10. But my pal Josh, who I went down there with, he wanted to see one of the first bands on the bill. So we were down there before 8 o'clock. So I knew it was going to be a long night. And at 8 o'clock, the place was already jam-packed to capacity with people in Ghost T-shirts losing their minds.
That's a really long night.
It's a really long night. So, cut to the chase. The first band was called Ancient Wisdom, and didn't love this band. It was sort of scary, Sabbathy kind of music from Texas. But they've got that sort of Rob Zombie sort of psychobilly roadkill is scary kind of vibe,
right?
Right. Complete with the steer skulls on stage and like the little Texas picket fences. And
right.
It's supposed to look all spooky.
You were blind in Texas?
Yeah, I was like blind to the point. It just didn't work for me. It was just kind of silly. One thing that was sort of mildly amusing was the fact that the drummer, who's also the lead singer, plays.
The drummer's the lead singer?
Yeah, he's the lead singer, and he plays standing up. Okay. In a very rare mud pie / jellyfish move.
Right.
So I thought I was going to like it. But he plays his snare with a mallet, and he plays his cymbals with a chain. So it sounds like chains, like ghostly chains, like crashing on metal all the time. It just sounded like a mess.
Right.
So no bueno on the Ancient Wisdom.
Not into it.
The second band I am going to highly recommend that you check out.
Okay.
Don't know if you're going to love them, but you're certainly going to find it absolutely riveting. They are called Blood Ceremony.
Blood Ceremony?
Now, the thing about Blood Ceremony is they are in the wrong decade. They are hands down lost in time, these folks. There's nothing, let me go on record here. The guitarist, the drummer, and the bass player, I have never heard a band sound more like early Sabbath than those three.
Really?
And I'm talking about the heavy riffs with a little bit of the jazziness that made them unique. Not just trudging along through a Black Sabbath riff or a War Pigs riff, but that sort of really cool Fairies Wear Boots Sabbath, the really good stuff. I'm talking like the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, the Volume 4 stuff. The three main players of this band, they are rooted on that, and they've got it nailed. They are the closest thing I've ever heard to Old Sabbath. The lead singer, however, she has the fringe hanging down off her sleeves.
Right.
The long straight straight black hair. She looks like a cross between Patti Smith and Ozzy circa 1973. But she plays keyboards and flute. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a train wreck, but it totally works. They are totally stuck in like 1972, and it is like the Black Sabbath version of Jethro Tull. They are a product of 1972. And for the riffs alone, I think you will find it absolutely fascinating.
How are the vocals?
Well, see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Live, it was hard to tell because it's a big Sabbathy mess.
Right.
And I could discern what she was singing and the the choruses and the melodies, and it's all very good because the dynamics are great. They get very heavy, then they have that really cool, mellow and jazzy bits, and they're really playing with the dynamics a lot, which is great. But it wasn't until I went on Spotify and listened to a little bit of them that I could really hear what her voice sounds like.
Okay.
It's a little thin. It's a little thin, to be honest. It's good, but it's a little thin.
It's got to be for that kind of big, massive music.
Yeah.
I mean, Sabbath is a big wall of sound.
But I'll tell you what, when she throws on those old-sounding keyboards in the mix of this, it's exactly right. It's just right. I almost, and it's a sexist thing, but I almost wish they would have had a dude up there singing because I think it would have sounded more like what they're going for.
Right.
But she clearly is the one who put this project together. This is her baby. And you could tell that she was raised on early Sabbath and maybe Deep Purple and Jethro Tull, and it is just rooted right in there, and they're doing everything right.
Is she cute?
No. She looks like Patti Smith. She looks like Patti Smith.
Old or young?
It doesn't matter. She looks like Patti Smith.
No, well, I'm just curious. Is she older or younger?
Oh, she's
is the band older or younger?
No, they're. I'd say they're maybe 30-ish. They're relatively young, but and they're out of Toronto. They're out of Toronto, and
we don't hold that against.
But
anyone.
all I'll say is they're doing everything right.
Right.
So. Do we have a phone call coming in?
Dude, I can't because every time I go to answer it, the phone does something funky that I can't seem
Well,
to
then I
make
will
it.
just I'll just finish up and tell you. Okay, so then the main attraction. So Ghost comes on, and I was not prepared for the fanaticism. That's really the thing I'll remember most about the show. Right. The fanaticism of this crowd was off the charts. It's rare that you see this level of fanaticism. From the minute they come out, you know exactly what their vibe is like. Suddenly, the entire room is bathed in this eerie sort of blue electric glow, and these huge stained glass windows appear behind you. You're basically in church for a satanic ritual.
Right.
And they come out. They're all
very scary.
They're all hooded.
That
They all come out in these satanic robes. In fact, it reminded me very much of that scene in what was the Kubrick movie with Tom Cruise and
Nicole Kidman.
And Nicole Kidman.
Where they went and banged each other with the
eyes
masks.
wide.
Yeah, eyes wide shut.
Eyes wide shut. Yeah, there's that sexual ritual where they all go and they're all hooded. Well, this is much darker and much more satanic than that scene. But that's sort of what it reminds me of because that's the robes. And so you can't even see the faces of any of the players because they're blacked out.
Right.
Plus they've got robes on and hoods, and they're playing very heavy, very evil sounding music. And then the lead singer, he's got a whole different vibe going on. He's got this whole sort of satanic priest thing going on.
It'd be great if they just came out and played pop music.
It would.
and like Britney Spears.
Wait for it, because I'm getting to that.
that'd be just
so
great.
they come out, and the opening song, even the smell of the room smelled like a satanic ritual because he's burning the sage from one of those dangling churchy chain things.
When was the last time you were at a satanic ritual, Joe?
Not recently, but this is what I imagined it would smell like. And
it's been a while.
Yeah, well, put it this way: I've never been to a show that had this aroma before.
Okay, that's fair.
And so there's that going on, and just a whole sensory overload thing, visually and musically, and the scents coming from the stage. It's all a whole.
That's good.
It's a whole sensory overload. So the songs are all very heavy, very dark, very evil. The crowd is into it, and they're either there's no moshing going on at a Ghost show, but it's either fist pumping or pushing up to the stage like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
People like ribs were getting crushed up there. It was just fanatic, and so all this is going on, and then towards the end of the show he actually has the satanic communion, and he's got the wafers and he's got the glass of wine, and everybody down in front is accepting the host and in all praise Ghost, and then things take a weird change because the encore they give you two pop songs. And one of them is their cover of "Here Comes the Sun," which is almost like this happy change of events. And then they close the show with it's one of their originals, but it sticks out of their catalog like a sore thumb. It's called "Ritual," and that's I think I played it on the show once. It sounds like a happy Blue Oyster Cult song,
right.
and it sounds nothing like the rest of their catalog.
cute.
Very, very enjoyable show. Even if you're not a fan of the music, there's enough going on where you go, wow, it's like Gwar.
Yeah.
It's like Gwar. Whether you're a fan of the music or not, you had to go to that show and go, this is pretty entertaining stuff. So they have the opening slot on the Mastodon Opeth tour.
Yeah.
And
I look forward to seeing that.
Any
for sure.
Opeth fans or Mastodon fans that are planning on going to that show later this year, absolutely, I highly recommend. Get there early. Go see Ghost. You won't regret it. It's a good show.
Well, I'm going to look forward to seeing it at that because we'll be at that show. So, yeah, I'm glad I'm not around smelly people in the Roxy to see it, though. I'll be honest. I'm not going to lie. All right, let's go to the telephones. Who is in the used bin?
Kyle.
Hey, how you doing, partner?
Oh, pretty well tonight. How are you guys?
Very good.
Boy, that's very convincing, Kyle. You really sound upbeat and happy.
Yeah, let's try a second take on that. How
My
you doing,
goodness.
Kyle?
I'm doing awesome.
All
There
right.
you go.
Hey.
Good job. Do you have a big smile on your face now?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Good. Attaboy.
We're here to help.
What are you up to, man?
Well, a lot of stuff with music. A lot of new albums coming out or being announced to be coming out, and
So which
I don't know,
ones have you been
what?
listening to, and what's caught your attention the most?
let's see here. I've told you about House of Fools. That's my top record so far this year.
Yeah.
Just this week, people are listening to the new Van Halen, and I did listen to that today, and actually it wasn't bad.
Oh, good. Glad you enjoyed it.
I don't know. You guys probably talked about it last week on the podcast that'll be airing right now, actually. I don't remember. But
Well, we actually reviewed the record tonight, and I'll just give you the brief synopsis. We absolutely are head over heels loved it. All three of us loved it.
What are you thinking? It's kind of with Roth joining up with the band again. And,
It's an absolutely incredible return to form after 28 years without David Lee Roth.
It was very riffy, very ballsy, although it still had the bar rock sound to me. But I think it worked for the most part. I don't know how much I'm going to listen to it this year, but I liked it better than I would have expected.
That's good then. That's a good review.
I think that's going to be the general consensus. I think people are going to like this better than they expect. Even if you're like a big Sammy fan, or if you were just a diehard Dave fan from the old days and you've been waiting and you don't think it's going to measure up, I think everybody's going to be a little surprised at just how they knocked this one out of the park.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it. They didn't expect a lot, but it turned out to be better than, Dave's voice sounded all right, And,
right.
Even with Eddie's son had a few parts where his bass was noticeable. I'd still rather have Michael Anthony, but,
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I don't think many people would argue about that. I think it just doesn't feel complete on a personnel level, but regardless, they nailed it.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I saw all these glaring reviews. I'm like, I have to check this out. So I understand why people were saying that. So.
Yeah. Good. What else?
Well, okay. You guys have never heard of this band from sort of upstate New York called Kiss Kiss. I probably never told you guys about them, but
Nope.
I'm a big fan of this band. And they
Does
sort of are.
Does
on
Gene
hiatus.
Simmons get a check every time they play?
He gets two of them.
Yeah. Ironically, their name has absolutely no reference to the band Kiss. It actually is referring to a chapter in the Roald Dahl novel. I'm not talking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but there's another novel with. But
James
they
and the
are-
Giant
what?
Peach? James and the Giant Peach?
Perhaps.
Okay.
I should know this trivia, but off the top of my head, I just know that it refers to the Roald Dahl novel. But their music, they're sort of an odd mix of like progressive rock, punk, sort of quirky, humorous, political stuff. Almost like Frank Zappa. And their songs their first album came out. It was like 32 minutes long.
Sounds like Primus.
Yeah, well, they're more poppy than Primus.
Okay.
They have like a Queen thing going. They use a violin pretty exceptionally. Anyway, they're on hiatus, and after they put out 2 records, but the lead singer is now put out a solo record this week on Bandcamp, and he has another project. But the new album that he just put out is really interesting. It's like Kiss Kiss, but also doing some other weird stuff like this song called the Pancake Song, where he has this guy yelling at another guy saying, "You like pancakes?" "No, I don't." You know, it's
cute.
funny, but it's entertaining at the same time. So.
That's cute. You want to hear something totally random that has nothing to do with what you just said, but it's kind of funny? Why is it, this is the way my head works, just giving you a little insight here. Why is it that I've always imagined that there's some fat chick named Hiatus and everybody's on her? All right, now on with the regular portion of the show.
That's interesting. Although I remember there was a screen name on the Mike Portnoy forum named Hiatus at one point.
And everybody's on him. Everybody's on him all the time.
Probably.
It's funny. Okay. It's cute.
So I might have to check that out. That sounds cute. That sounds interesting. Kiss
I would
Kiss.
actually recommend Kiss Kiss. I'll post a couple links to Kiss Kiss on the Facebook and on the forum and see what you guys think, and then maybe also link up his album.
They've been around for a little while?
Yeah, they formed early part of last decade, but their first album came out in 2007, and they put out a record in 2009 also called The Meek Shall Inherit What's Left.
Oh, I love that. Is that your
tongue in cheek?
Is that your go-to record to start off with them?
I would go with the first record, The Reality versus The Optimist. That record seemed to be more accessible, but they're both pretty equal in terms of quality. I just think you want more catchy, poppy song to song. The first record works a little better.
Okay, good.
So, but yeah, no, that record, I'm really interested in his new album, and you know, you saw the thing I posted on Facebook, didn't you, about Ben Sinister?
I sent that to Joe, but I know Joe is a little busy today.
Yeah,
so.
haven't seen that yet.
They have a new EP coming out March 6th. Our friend David Fleer mentioned something on Facebook too.
Oh, nice.
He likes them. He said you turned them on to him, and he's a fan.
Is there a track list? I haven't seen the email. Is there a track list for the EP?
There's only 5 songs. The song they have available to actually download for free in the streams called "Give It a Rest."
Okay.
I will.
The press release said something about how this is just a teaser of what's to come. So it might mean they have a full length coming out later in the year.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I'm still enjoying Ben Sinister. I really love what I've been hearing. So that
good
was
to hear.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So yeah, I mean, I've been listening to.
I hope they don't go on hiatus anytime
soon. And a lot of old stuff.
Well, they're coming
recently.
soon.
I don't know what you guys. What?
No, nothing. Joe is just being silly.
Let me ask you: have you guys ever listened to 2 groups, not new groups, but the Anathema and the Gathering?
I know Anathema, and I have a couple of their records. In fact, I remember going through a period where I was really kind of powering through that stuff because the word was that they were going to be the opening act on the Blackfield tour, and then I think it ended up being we got Jordan Rudess instead. So I was all prepped and studied. But
isn't that the Octopus album?
No, that's Gentle Giant.
No, no, different Octopus album. What's the last?
I forget the name of the album. Anathema.
I thought that was
Anathema. No, I don't think.
We're Here Because We're Here was their last album.
No. Okay.
But the other one you mentioned, The Gathering, that sounds really familiar, but I'm not sure from where.
They're from, I believe, the Netherlands, and they are known for their former lead singer, Anneke van Giersbergen, who's she's done a lot of stuff with other artists like Devin Townsend and actually Anathema and another other artist she's been a guest on.
Annika she's not related to Annika from Pippi Longstocking, right? Tommy and Annika.
Wow, that's a reference.
No relation. Just
none
that we know
do
of.
some research on that, I guess, to totally find out.
Yeah, I appreciate that because Tommy and Annika were a big part of the Pippi Longstocking story.
Sure, sitting in the hollow tree.
All the time. They got sucked into the Pippi Longstocking adventures.
Sure, they didn't want to be there.
No interest. The parents were very straight edged.
Yeah,
they had no interest in doing that.
Yeah,
but sure enough, what happens when you get what was the monkey, right, Mr. Nielsen? Wow, what the fuck is going on? Mr. Nielsen was the monkey, right?
Sure, and those red pigtails standing straight out.
Yeah, and her father.
They once watched on a Gilmore Girls episode.
Really?
Nice.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was that movie, yeah.
They
made a big deal out of it.
Yeah, and her father, who she didn't really know, was a
pirate.
Yeah.
Mr. Longstocking. Captain Longstocking.
Yeah, he was a pirate.
And her mother was Hiatus Longstocking.
Right. Everyone was on her. No, there was no mother. Remember, she lived in that house.
Annika,
she lived in that house all by herself.
Yeah. Nice.
That
All
was
right.
serious stuff.
We're full of literary references tonight. All right, so The Gathering, what do you recommend?
Well, I'm just starting to find out them out myself. I actually thought they may have toured with King's X in the late '90s one summer, and I missed that tour.
I'll tell you, it does sound familiar. I get the feeling that maybe I've seen them before, but
they're kind of a gothic, sort of a hard rock, gothic metal, like female fronted. I don't know. I mean, their fan base is divided, but a lot of their fans are loyal to Annika, and she left the band in 2007. They replaced her with a singer who kind of sounds like her.
Got it.
But I don't know. I just saw that she popped up with a new solo record, and I was just curious. I've never really. They have an album called Mandylion from the '90s, which was the first album with her, and I bought that years ago.
Mandy Lions, isn't that?
Mandy Lion.
Oh,
yeah.
not from World War III. Mandy
MANDY.
Lions. Oh, got it. Okay.
The European. I mean, they maybe were bigger in Europe, but the metal community knows them. Maybe you just aren't that familiar with them, but I don't know, like Lacuna Coil, Evanescence, some of these bands that have come since them, they kind of owe to maybe The Gathering to an extent.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, that might be worth checking out. I'm curious about Kiss Kiss. I'm gonna listen to some of that this week, I think.
You might like them. I mean, actually, I was telling Ben Sinister about Kiss Kiss years ago, and they were impressed by that. Wow, some interesting stuff. I mean, their videos especially, very out there videos, like politically. Josh Bennett used to write on their MySpace how he hated Bush and all this stuff politically. Just, why is it the government's this way? We have to pay this much money for gas, and
He's not a big Gavin Rossdale fan? He's not a big Gavin Rossdale fan?
Maybe not. I
mean, I was never a big Gavin Rossdale fan either, but I don't go around saying I hate Bush.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And I'm a heterosexual man, by the way.
The grunge or the new metal episode of the Metal Evolution. I was surprised they didn't mention that.
That's true. That's right. Who did they talk about on that episode? I didn't see that. Who did they talk about on that? On the post-grunge.
They showed System of a Down, but they didn't mention them. I wanted them to talk, but I wouldn't put System of a Down in new metal. They talked about the normal, like Limp Bizkit and Korn, and I'm trying to remember the other bands they focused on.
Does Linkin Park fall in that category?
Yeah, they talked about Linkin Park as well.
Right. Okay. All right.
But no, I mean, System of a Down isn't really new metal, but they were the most interesting name on his chart.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just curious. It's an interesting thing to me. I wonder, who do you consider in the post-grunge era, who falls into that category? But System of a Down is more like, they're like prog weird metal.
Right.
So
they're less new metal or sounding like influenced by grunge rather than they're more influenced by Zappa.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's on the opposite end of the spectrum of grunge. They don't take themselves seriously at all. Well, a little bit they do, but
they threw the Deftones in that category, which I don't really see in
really
metal.
Yeah, that's right. I saw that. I was surprised by that as well.
Are you a Deftones fan?
Not really. I know a lot of the Dredge fans love them. Actually, when we were watching that, Joyce mentioned how he liked the fact that the Deftones had a girl in the band.
Well,
like,
so do the Pretenders.
I'd like Rachel to answer this question because I got in this argument with her about why did they never have any metal bands in the 70s with women?
Heart. I mean, it's not metal, but...
Yeah, Heart. Heart comes to mind.
Heart's the female Led Zeppelin.
She's like, that's not metal to her. It's like, why aren't there, like, Judas Priest and Black Sabbath, why aren't there any women in the metal band?
Wait a second. Judas Priest, you could argue about Halford. I'm just kidding.
No, but okay, if you're talking about like late 70s, early 80s, Girls' School comes to mind.
I mentioned Girls' School. I came up, I did some research and found that.
Right.
Vixen?
Vixen were around that time. Absolutely. Earlier than that, I mean, you could go back to the Runaways. I mean, that sort of qualifies for the period of time. And then that opens the floodgates to Susie Quattro.
Hey, listen, and you know what? And what happened afterwards was that leads you to, in the 90s, I mean, you had Veruca Salt. You had an onslaught of female bands.
There's a ton of bands.
Courtney could be confused for a man, though. So, I mean, let's just be honest. She's very male.
And she also said, why don't you have a case of a guy with a female backing band? You have so many female singers with male backing bands.
Well, you know what? You have guys out there
Robert
that are
Robert Palmer.
Yeah,
CeeLo Green. He has a band.
CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green, is
all
he
women
like...
in his
Well,
band?
I'll get into that in
He
a
has
minute.
an all-girl band. The last time
Yeah.
there's a show, they're all
Well,
women.
he's also, too, I mean, you got like... Kid Rock used to have a female drummer and a female guitar player in the Twisted Brown Trucker Band. Who else had a
Lenny
female...
Kravitz
Lenny
had the
Kravitz has...
drummer.
Right, and a female
And she
guitar
loves Lenny
player.
Kravitz, so you're like, yeah, well, that's why.
That's true. No, absolutely. So, there's women in bands. I don't know. Maybe they're difficult to deal with for,
You
a
can't
week,
forget about
a week out of
Kitty.
every month. Who?
Kitty.
Oh, yeah, there's
Right,
Kitty, and they're still
all-girl
around.
Band, yes.
That's fair. That's reasonable. Isn't
But
Kitty
you
like
don't
the
have
female
cases with
corn?
Just the lead singer being a guy, and the rest of only the rare cases. And she's like, well, because they're not encouraged to do it.
Right. Well, Poison. Just kidding.
Just because you wanted to
Feel
sleep
like
with him.
sports is like, well, why don't women play sports? Why play against men in sports?
Why?
Well, that's a whole
What?
that's a whole different conversation.
What was the question?
I know, but she
Why
had
don't
this
women
argument
play
with me.
against
She's
men
like,
in
that's why I don't
sports?
Why
like
don't
sports,
they?
because women are on level playing field with men.
Back in the mid-'90s, on the Tampa Bay Lightning, they had a female goalie. I mean, she only played like in
Right.
2 games.
Manon Rayon, right?
But technically she was on the roster.
Look, I think the reason is because physically, and I'm not talking about their athletic ability. I'm talking about physically, they're not as strong as men. So it's unfair to put a woman in a football uniform. It's unfair to put a woman, although I would argue that some women can pitch just as fast as men, but I'm not sure that they could compete at that same level because of their physical prowess isn't the
Plus,
same.
nobody wants to see a guy kicking a girl's ass.
Yeah, there's that.
Right.
Yeah, that's fairly uninteresting.
that's politics,
actually.
right?
Masculinity, the fear of masculinity, losing your masculinity, yes.
But there's
I think I'd rather see that pair up in like a UFC fight than I would in football or something like that.
No.
well, that's what I was about to say. Is that the next ticket they're going to be opening a big show for the
Yeah.
UFC is going to actually be 2 women fighting. So that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
Girl on girl action, pal.
Glow, gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Yeah, remember them?
Uh-huh.
Hey, Strike Force's their main event in Columbus is a female fight. So
there you go.
all right, Kyle, we're up against it. We got to get to the news, and then we have to choogle each other. So next week, my friend.
I will post some stuff, and I will be still researching some of these power pop bands you guys have been telling, and The Gathering. I'll have more of a report for The Gathering for you guys if you guys want.
Awesome. Look forward to hearing it.
All right, take
Talk to you in a
care.
bit.
Good week.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye now.
I wanted to, since we were talking about the documentary, which I think we've all pretty much either missed a couple of episodes or most of the episodes of the Metal Evolution. I found something the other day that made me laugh, and I had to rewind it and show it to Kim to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. But a major screw up got through editing. Major screw up. At least in my world, it was a major screw up. I don't know how this got past them. They were doing the episode on early metal where they go to London, talk about Priest, they go to Birmingham to talk about Sabbath, and they talk with Bill Ward and some of the guys from Deep Purple and all of this stuff. Fine episode, nothing we've really not seen a million times before, but it was all fine. And then they're talking about the point in Sabbath's career where they started taking, still with Ozzy in the band, but where they started taking some risks and using some other instruments and other arrangements and other players. We're talking specifically like around Technical Ecstasy or, when they decided to bring Rick Wakeman on from Yes to do some keyboards. The whole time that they're talking about this, they keep flashing pictures of Keith Emerson on the screen. They got it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
They just hands down got it wrong. They're showing Keith Emerson, in his silvery cape, playing synthesizers in the 70s, because they keep talking about how, they get this iconic progressive rock keyboard player. But they're showing pictures of Keith Emerson the whole time. I think they missed that one.
Yeah, that's just an absolute screw up.
Yeah, so I get the point.
All right, bastards. Well, that's what they get, so. All right, let's play a song, Joe Mama, and then let's get to the news, and then we can wrap this bad boy up for another week. What do you think?
I think so. In a couple of nights, we are going to go see Enough's Enough.
Yes.
And I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to play a little Enough's Enough. because, that's just the way I roll, pal. And here it comes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Richard Cheese, and you're lounging against the machine on the greatest radio station in the world. Insert call letters here. Now go out and buy my fucking CD. Thank you. Good night.
Extra, extra pinball bonanza, deaf, dumb, and blind.
Hey! Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's the portion of the evening where we like to talk about the music news, and that's why we have Rachel, the music metal warrior princess, right here in the room with us to help us out with our music news needs and all of yours. Hey, Rach. Hi, Rach.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm well.
Good.
That was a great delivery.
It was good, right?
I can't get enough of it.
Really?
Yeah.
We could, we have a podcast where you can listen to it all the time.
Over and over and over.
That's right.
And you too can. You too can listen to it.
At usebin.com.
Over
That's what
and
Bono.
over.
That's what Bono tells me.
That's right. Well, at usebin.com, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, Rach.
Hey.
What's happening in the news?
Oh, there's a lot going on in
Yeah?
this. Yeah.
What's the deal?
Okay, well, there's a big announcement today by Metallica. Have you heard? Metallica is planning on the Orion Music and More Festival. They said it's a brand new festival brought to you by your friends Metallica. And they're going to be the headliners. Well, they're basically doing everything.
Right.
And they said, and for the only time in America this year, they're planning to continue the Black Album in its entirety, and something they've never done before, Ride the Lightning in its entirety.
Which is awesome.
Which is so awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that's true. I did read a little bit about it, and I know that they've got 10 or 12 other bands playing over the course of the 2 nights. I think like the Arctic Monkeys and...
Arctic Monkeys, Avenged Sevenfold,
Right.
Modest Mouse, the Gaslight Anthem, KG Elephant, The Sword.
It's a funky mix of bands, which I know is the whole idea.
Right.
But everybody from Metallica and Avenged Sevenfold to the Gaslight Anthem. And
Right.
if you don't know who the Gaslight Anthem is, that's like it's the punk rock Bruce Springsteen. So it's a really funky, and Modest Mouse. I mean, it's a really funky mix of bands. But I know it's like an art festival too, right? And
Yeah.
cultural festival.
See, that's the thing, is that they're joining forces with C3, and they do the Lollapalooza. So it sounds a lot like Lollapalooza, where they have the music, they have music stages, but they also have other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
They have, let's see, they have art, non-music activities. They don't really go into specifics about that.
Right.
But it's at Bader Field in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and it's June 23rd, 24th. And if you're in the Metallica fan club, a pre-sale goes on for discounted tickets and packages on Wednesday. It's tomorrow, February 8th. So if you're listening to this now, sorry. So
Out of
sorry. But there's also tickets go on sale on Saturday to the public. So exciting.
I think it's a great move. This is the first I'm hearing about it, by the way. But you got to give credit to Perry Farrell, because this is really his concept.
Yeah.
He said, why should my band wait around to be picked to be put on a bill for some festival when we could just take total control, take total credit, and put together the lineup that we want and headline the whole party. And many bands have done it since, and many bands do it really well, and many bands do it absolutely wrong. One band that I think does it absolutely wrong is Megadeth. And even though the fact that I loved the year when they had Dream Theater on the bill, it was just another excuse for me to go see Dream Theater. It wasn't that it was a well-packaged festival, because what they did was so specific to a subgenre of music that anybody that was coming to see Megadeth were already there anyway. Or I should say, anybody that was coming to see any of the earlier bands on the bill were already there anyway, because they were going to go see Megadeth, who were sort of the patron saints of that particular genre and style of music. What Metallica, I think, is knocking out of the park here is they're taking the success of the tested and proven success of something like Coachella, which is a unusually diverse collection of bands from different genres, and it totally works, because it becomes more of a cultural phenomenon than just a Tool headlined festival or a McCartney headlined festival, or whoever happens to be playing that particular year at Coachella, a Radiohead festival. We're not smart enough for that, but no, they're doing it absolutely right, because they're spreading it out over different genres. It's going to appeal to lots of people. Maybe a lot of people who've never even been Metallica fans will suddenly show up for this big cultural event, and it just increases the brand name. It just makes them bigger and more important. Suddenly they're not just a headliner over all those metal bands that I was never into because it's not my music, but they're headliner over my bands, Modest Mouse or whoever. I think they're doing everything right.
The only gripe I would have, and this is as well as Lollapalooza, how they just have the one show in Chicago.
Right.
It's
not a tour.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be a tour, but what would be nice is if they did one East Coast festival and one West Coast festival.
Right.
So not everybody can travel, has the luxury to travel back
Well,
east.
maybe they're testing the waters, so that could be what this is all about. Because normally I would agree with you, but I'm going to disagree with both of you. Actually, I don't really love this idea, and I don't love it because I feel like it's been done. I know Dave Matthews just did it last summer.
Ride the Lightning.
No, listen, hey, any opportunity to hear that record in its entirety is worth it.
That's
So
what's going to sell the tickets.
I'm with you. I'll give you that,
Okay.
and for sure. But I just don't think I think it's sort of unnecessary. I'm not really interested in it. If I wanted, because I think Metallica does just about everything right these days. I think they really do. They've rebounded from their whatchamacallit, their music piracy episode very well. And just in this case, I think I would rather see Metallica do more what Marillion does with the conventions. I'd rather see that than a big 2-day festival with Modest Mouse. And I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, if you've ever been to a Metallica show, Metallica fans, this is just a hunch, and I could very well be proven wrong, I'm not so sure they're going to be real accepting of Modest Mouse. The Gaslight Anthem at least is he got a little moxie behind him. That dude's a big tattooed fucking guy, but I just, I'm not so sure that they're going to be real accepting of Modest Mouse and bands like that. So there's that aspect to it.
I think the smart thing that they did was they're going to play the Black Album and Ride the Lightning, because the true Metallica fans are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going for the Ride the Lightning. Who cares about the other bands? And people that are there to see the Black Album are the people that are like, oh, that's Metallica from the radio, the easy listening, not true Metallica fans that they think that Metallica started with the Black Album, that are going to enjoy those other kind of bands.
Well, but let's be honest, though. Okay. Metallica could sell out 30,000 seats with one opening band anywhere in the United States.
True.
So they don't have to put anybody else really on the bill. They don't have to do anything else. They could show up with some lights and a makeshift stage and probably sell 30,000 tickets.
Well, it could be another check off the list of things that we Metallica did. We had our festival.
Absolutely right. No, I get it. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it. I just think I'd rather see them do the convention part of it. I'd rather see the intimate aspect of it. I'd rather see them play maybe an acoustic set in an afternoon and then a headlining set make it exclusive, make it 5,000 people, make it somewhere, where it's a destination, where it's an event, where you can spend some time with the guys and you can interact like that, as opposed to 50,000 people, 2 nights where I have to sit through fucking Modest Mouse and some art.
I agree. Let's play some Kill 'Em All. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, the convention idea is great. Obviously, I'm a fan of what Marillion has been doing. So if they took that convention concept and did sort of what they did with the shows in San Francisco for the Metallica anniversary, of course, I'd prefer that. A couple of shows, especially if they could somehow keep the numbers down and personalize it where you could actually, mingle like at a Marillion convention. Can't see that being possible, but on paper it sounds really good. But sure, those shows, I would prefer that to this. But having said that, I think if you're going to do a festival, I think it would have been a mistake for them to do something like the Big Four, but with different bands like that. I think it would be a mistake if it was just like Metallica and I don't know who else would be on that bill. No, not a Big Four bill, but like a big metal bill. So if it was like Metallica and I don't know, what if they did like Judas Priest or Avenged Sevenfold? Well, they're on this bill, but if they did a bunch of just metal bands, if it was like Stone Sour, Slipknot, yeah, I think it would be like everybody that was going to be there anyway. Korn. Doesn't matter who you announce on a bill like that. Madonna. You're bringing the same people in. It doesn't change the demographic. It just becomes more of the same. Whereas by doing it like this, I think it works for them. I think it works for them. And just to go back to your point about Metallica fans not accepting it, I think that might have been true, back in the day. To be fair, I think in the 80s, an opening band like Modest Mouse would have gotten pummeled at a Metallica show if we were talking about the Injustice for All tour. But in this day and age, I think Metallica is something of a little bit more of a global brand. And the reason I say that is because even as far back as the 90s, if you remember when they were doing headlining Lollapalooza, they were playing on the same stage with the Ramones and Devo and bands like that. And everybody was happy.
Yeah, but that's true, however, but Lollapalooza had cultivated an environment at that point of diversity. You know what I mean? I'm not so sure that a Metallica festival, with not just their name as the headliner, but this is Metallica's festival, that they cultivate an environment of diversity. I think Metallica cultivates an environment of fucking Metallica fans, of rock guys. I mean, look, we were at the Big Four. You know what I mean? If you took 3 of those bands off, took all 3 of the other bands off and put on, you know what I mean, Avenged Sevenfold and Modest Mouse, I don't think Modest Mouse fans come. I think they don't do well at that show. But look, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe I'm selling these guys short. It's entirely possible that I'm being short-sighted about it. I'm more than willing to admit that. I just find it hard to believe. Like Metallica crowds feel like Iron Maiden crowds, and they're cult-like. They're different than your average metal crowd. They're not a Motley Crue crowd. They're cult-like. They're diehard fans. They live and die with this band and have for over 20 some odd years. I find it hard to believe that you can put fucking Modest Mouse on that bill, or even the Gaslight Anthem for that matter. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm wrong, but look, Maiden fans booed Ozzy at Ozzy's own festival. So that's all.
But there were different politics going on there.
With good reason at that point in time.
That's all fair, but it's still fucking Ozzy Osbourne. You know what I mean? Like, if you figured that's a pretty good pairing, Iron Maiden and Ozzy Osbourne. Like, those are very similar fan bases. But they booed them. Like, they were hardly receptive to Dream Theater. I mean, you know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, just to expand on that thought for a moment, Metallica's fan base, like the demographic, has changed a lot. Where if you go to a Metallica show, you're going to see the older guys that were there at the first shows. But I was surprised to see that half of the audience were like 10-year-old kids with their parents that dragged them to the show. That the parents are standing there like, what the hell is this? But
Totally.
But the kids are into it.
Yeah.
So those are the kids that they might have a Modest Mouse album from last year when they weren't into Metallica. So
maybe.
Yeah.
you guys, those are all valid points.
I'm in for the convention.
Yeah. I'm just... The Gin Blossoms doing Christine 16. This is off the Kiss My Ass soundtrack, or tribute album. It's good, right?
More Tool trivia.
Yeah.
What is it? Shanty's Addiction? On that album? That's Tool. They just changed their name.
Silly lads.
That was silly
Clever
lads.
Look, again, maybe I'm just short-sighted. It's entirely possible. Listen, if I was 10 years old and I was dragging my parents to see Metallica, you wouldn't catch me with a fucking Modest Mouse album. But that was me.
Yeah, but that's their guilty pleasure, like I said, from the year before when they were like the squeaky clean kid.
That could be. Yeah, look, you could very well be right. So,
well.
I wish him luck. I think it's a lovely deal. I prefer an intimate convention.
Let's put it out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marillion's got it right, man. I think that's a perfect model to embrace your fans with.
Retro.
And who doesn't like to embrace their fans now and then? Unless they're on hiatus.
Or coming soon. Let's take a quick phone call, and then we'll get back to the news. Good evening. Hello. How are you?
Good
Who's
evening,
this?
ladies, gentlemen.
Oh. Hello, Stephen. It's not. I was thinking that it was Tommy and Annika, but it's not. Hello, young man.
How are you guys doing? I'm in the car at the moment, so I hope the reception's okay.
Yeah, it is. You're coming in loud and clear. God bless.
Fantastic. Well, this is the moment where you ask me what I'm listening to.
Hey, man, what are you listening to?
Well, I gotta tell you, I'm driving a little faster than usual.
You must be listening to Grace for Drowning.
I just bought the new Van Halen record.
Very nice. And your thoughts?
I tell you, it's a little conducive to breaking the speed limit.
So you're saying the new Van Halen record made you realize that you can't drive 55? I'm all confused. Now I'm all confused.
Oh, man. Well, it's a one-way ticket to midnight. You can call it heavy metal.
Man, it is pedal to the metal stuff. It is fast and furious, and I gotta say, this record is a blast.
Good. Glad you like it.
I'm impressed. I'm 8 tracks in, and it seems like Eddie Van Halen's just been let off the leash.
Right.
It's like the guy's been cooped up for so long, and he wants to kind of prove a point and show that he's still got it.
Yeah.
And man,
they're all in really good. They're all in really good form. I mean, we spent a little time earlier this evening, obviously, talking about how excited we are. But to recap, I mean, yeah, some of the things that caught my ear immediately is not only is some of it, really catchy, and not only is some of the guitars ferocious, but every once in a while, especially like at the beginning of track 4, but there's a few moments where they get into this Eddie and Alex syncopated, almost fusion-y kind of thing. And that's something that they used to hint at a little bit back in the Dave years, especially live, but not so much on record. And so for them to actually be flexing that muscle, that's really impressive at this stage in the game. I think they're just firing on all cylinders, and anybody that's a fan of the old Van Halen, I think there's no way you could be disappointed. And anybody that didn't have very high expectations, I think they're going to be really impressed.
Yeah, there are a handful of drummers that you can instantly identify by hearing them, such as Ginger Baker or Don Bonham. And Alex Van Halen is one of those. He has got such a signature style.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick him out anywhere. It's the way that he rides the cymbals and his snare sound. And he's very underrated as a drummer. This album is a fantastic showcase, I think, just to remind everyone how good he is. Yep. And it's I think it's just really well produced. I'm pretty impressed. So I'm looking forward to hearing a couple of tracks at the end. I think there's one called Fire and Ice, Red Rain.
No, there's Big River is at the end, and then there's that's Beats
the
Working. Those are the last.
Big River is the track to hear.
Well, Big River, that's the song I liked. That was the first one that caught my ear. In fact, it's funny. I sent after I heard it the first time, I sent Joe an email, and that was the first thing I said was for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's the best track on the album or not, but I can tell you that that's the one that I wake up in the morning singing. So it's a great rock anthem.
See, and for me, it's the closer on the record, which is Beats Working, because that was one of a handful of tracks. We've talked about this before, how a few of these tracks were old demos from 1975. And that one in particular, Beats Workin', used to be a song called Put Out the Lights in 1975. And for me, having been a bootleg collector and a demo aficionado of Van Halen in the early days, that for the last 30-something years has been one of my favorite Van Halen songs, even though it was unreleased. And so the fact that it actually exists out there now is something akin to Brian Wilson's Smile album being in used bins. It's just very weird for me that song is out there.
I haven't heard the song yet, but the title Beats Working. I can imagine what Dave's going to sing in that, because, I'm sure that being back in Van Halen sure beats, driving in an ambulance all day long.
Right.
So,
or being on the radio.
Right? Exactly. So, good stuff. And I'll tune in and listen to the rest of the show. I'll let you guys get on with the news. But I just want to touch base. And
good to hear from you, Stephen.
Up on this record show. It's a good one.
Good. Thanks, man. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
All right. Adios.
Have a good night. Yep. Well, there you go. Another fan of the Van Halen record. So that's good. Good times. Good times.
The only bad review I've really heard from it was from Sammy.
But he hadn't heard it yet.
He hadn't even heard it yet. He was just anticipating that, it's just a rehash of old demos. And it's really not.
Yeah.
It's really not.
And I don't want to, I really don't want to get back into the Sammy thing again, but it really makes him look like an idiot after listening to the record, at least in my opinion anyway. And I can't imagine that he's going to continue talking shit about this record after hearing it. But who knows?
Silenced.
Yes.
Bitter
hey, Rach,
pill.
a little bit of the Strokes for you.
Thanks. I I was enjoying the 311 too.
Yeah, right?
I was just listening to that Transistor album. I love that album.
Really good.
It's so good.
Transistor's a good
Underrated.
record. Yeah, they're a weird band for me.
Yeah.
You know, they have their moments. You know
The
what I mean?
first two albums, I'm in. After that,
Yeah, you didn't like the 311?
that's the first one.
No, the
Right.
first one's like homebrew or not homebrew, music. There's music, and then there's one before that, and then 311 was the third record.
Oh, then I'm
Yeah.
in on the third and the fourth.
Yeah.
Then that and Transistor.
Aren't they like a bunch of pot smoking chooglers?
Probably.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah, that's right. All I can tell you is that as much as I like 311,
Yeah.
the drum sound on those records drives me absolutely bananas.
But you
It
got-
drives me nuts. It's almost to the point where sometimes I turn off the CD when I'm listening to it because it makes me so crazy. It's so awful.
But Peanut on bass, like he's good. He's beyond good. He's
I wonder if Lars during Saint Anger ever said, "Man, I really love the drum sound on 311 records. I think that's what I'm going to go for."
Probably. It's just so bad. You know what? You're right. The bass is great, but sometimes it's that tin sound from the snare. It's
Yeah.
so tinny that I can't hear the bottom end.
right.
It really drives. I know I'm probably way too involved in that, but it really fucking drives me bananas. So, anyway, let's get back to the news, shall we?
music news.
Yes.
Okay, so we got Bill Ward now. He's announced that he might
Mr. Bill Ward.
he might not be a part of Black Sabbath, the reunion, unless he's given a reasonable contract. He's basically said in a statement that to the fans, at this time, I would love nothing more than to be able to proceed with Black Sabbath, the new album. However, I'm unable to continue unless a signable contract is drawn up, a contract that reflects some dignity and respect towards me as an original member of the band. And we'll leave it at that. I mean, he went on to say more. But
This just kind of, I hate to say it, but this reeks of Sharon. This just reeks of Sharon going, "Ozzy, I think you should get 90%. We'll give 15% to the or whatever, you know." It's just, it just feels dirty. Feels dirty.
I totally agree. And I was thinking about this when I heard about this little contract review. First of all, congratulations to Bill Ward for stepping up and being a man and not taking it in the ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like most people probably would at this stage of the game. You know what I mean? This reunion, it's a big deal. And so good on him for standing up for himself. Secondly, it so reeks of Sharon and management. And look, at this point in the game, all these guys have a bunch of dough, especially Ozzy and especially Tony Iommi. These guys have a lot of freaking money. You know what I mean? I'm sure Geezer's got a bunch of money too, but those guys in particular, really? You're not going to give the guy a reasonable deal? You guys are 866 fucking years old. Come on, man. You're fighting over splitting the pie? It just seems that's what you do when you're, that's what you do when you're just starting out or when you're getting ready to sign your second record deal. Not when you're 80.
That's the draw. You have all the original members. That's what's pulling them in, pulling in the audience.
Listen, if it doesn't come to fruition and they can't work something out, I hope that everybody who writes about these Sabbath shows says it's not a real reunion. I really do.
I think they're going to work it out.
I hope it's a black eye on the whole thing.
I think they'll work it out.
Yeah. Isn't it ironic, too, that the one guy that didn't want to fire Ozzy to begin with was Bill Ward? The one dude that actually stuck up for Ozzy in the beginning was Bill Ward?
Egg on your face.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Shitty.
Hello.
Yeah, shitty. All right, Rach, you got, what do we, oh yeah, we're up against it. One more for us?
What do you think? Slash, Dave Grohl, Storm Corrosion?
Your call.
You choose.
Storm Corrosion.
Well,
Dave Slash.
Dave Slash.
Whatever you'd like. I'd say Dave Grohl, actually.
Dave Grohl?
Yeah.
Okay.
No Jude Law stories, right?
No.
Okay, all right.
Hey, Jude. So Dave Grohl is the executive producer of a new sitcom series for the FX channel, and who's the writer of the series is comedian Dana Gould. And the premise of the show is about a band who goes into therapy to prevent them from breaking up.
Brilliant.
I love it.
Some kind of monster.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, some kind of foo.
It's Metallica, some kind of monster. That is genius. Love it. Love every part of it.
I got a side note.
Will Dave be in the show, or is he just
executive?
He's just
producer.
executive
But
producer.
you know what? He always makes little cameos, like
The Mentos guy.
the Pick of Destiny.
Right.
He was Satan.
Right.
That was good.
Yeah.
But
Your side. your side note?
another little side note with Dave Grohl. So there's like the rumor swirling right now. Right now there's recording at Sound Studio, or Sound City Studio in Van Nuys, and where the Foo Fighters practice. There's been a lot of sightings of different musicians coming through, and they have Cheap Trick's Rick Nielsen, Rats, Stephen Pearcy,
Can
Warren
Rick Nielsen
DeMartini.
fit through the door? Okay, just checking.
Corey Taylor has been coming in.
I think you're thinking of Bunny Carlos.
No. Rick Nielsen got fat.
Really? Still wearing the baseball cap?
Yeah. I'm remembering the last picture I saw. This is how I know he got fat. Sorry. Rob.
How did you
Sorry.
know? Tell me.
Yeah. The only reason I remember is because he had the 57 neck guitar out, and his belly didn't fully cover his belly. That I was like, oh, big. He got big. In fact, his face looked like Bunny Carlos. Yeah.
Have another sandwich.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of musicians have been popping up in those sessions. Now we've heard that I think it was Stephen Pearcy and Warren DeMartini have talked about some music that they worked on with Grohl, and I remember originally we were like, they got Grohl on a Rat album? not the case. Grohl calls in pretty much whoever he wants. I don't think it works the other way around, and I don't have any reason to believe this is going to be for a Foo Fighter project. I think it's just something else that Dave's working on, so could be fun.
Right.
Yeah.
They Dave Grohl and Corey Taylor, they recorded a song together, produced by Mitch, Nirvana guy, Butch Vig.
Butch Vig. Yeah, my understanding is that I know he's doing a documentary on I think it's Sound City, right? Didn't they just close Sound City?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's doing a documentary on Sound City and everybody that recorded at Sound City. I mean, I don't know, but it certainly sounds like this could be the soundtrack for something like that.
Ooh,
and he's
perhaps.
bringing in a bunch of people that have recorded at Sound City in the past and doing that sort of thing. So, although I heard Kurt Cobain's not available, but I know he's bringing in a bunch of
Where'd
people.
you hear
to do
that?
He tried to make the call, but he didn't have enough dimes in his pocket.
You've been exclusive.
There you go. Anyway, I can't wait to hear it. At this point, Dave Grohl, like you said, he writes his own ticket, he calls the shots, and I'll listen to anything the guy does. He's reached that status.
Now, if Grohl decides, like Metallica, to have his own festival and do like an Orion festival, but it's, Foo Fest or whatever, does he get away with having like Modest Mouse and a barrage of different genres?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
So you think it's just a Metallica fan thing where they might not buy into it, whereas Grohl fans are more accepting?
Yeah, and I don't even mean to be offensive to Metallica fans. That certainly isn't the point. I just think they're a different breed.
Yeah.
Metallica fans are so...
Oh, that's not offensive. You're a different breed, pal.
Hey, at least they're not the Restless Breed. Great Riot album. They're just different. They're so devoted to their band. They're diehard. Nothing comes close unless, of course, you're Slayer.
Or Maiden.
Or Maiden. It's the same type of fan base. So... I don't know. That's my where my reservations come in. The Foo Fighters, though, they stemmed from the alternative music world, and that was a lot more inviting. And I think that's why maybe the Foo Fighters get away with that. And I certainly hope they don't ever do that. By the way, I'm not interested in the Foo Fighters
festival.
No, I'm not.
They pop up on enough festivals anyway where it wouldn't be interesting.
At that point, I would say, God, they're starting to take themselves very seriously.
Yeah.
And the fun about the Foo Fighters is they don't ever do that.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
We got a couple of minutes left. Did everybody watch the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Halftime show? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to hear actually what Rachel thought because I know we probably have differing opinions, so I'm really curious to what you have to say.
I loved it. I mean, but I have to admit, I grew up with Madonna, and I'm a girl. So, but she put on a show. She gave you a show. There was the stage looked good. She looked great.
Mm-hmm.
I think of course, there are some samples, but she did do some singing. of her own.
Very little.
Yes.
Very little.
But she's an entertainer, and you got entertainment. I liked it. So I think it's way better than what you got with the Black Eyed Peas and what we've seen lately.
Yeah. Well, here's my thought on it. First of all, I hated the fact that there was no crowd in front of the stage. Like, usually that's the big deal, is they bring in a few hundred people, 500 people,
right,
and they get to stand in front of the stage, and it feels more like a concert. Madonna's way too cool for that. She had to have an exceptionally large stage. It looked cool, granted, it was very cool.
Yeah.
But it's just so impersonal. It's so fucking typical Madonna. Like, impersonal. It felt much more high and mighty.
Well, it was grandiose, which is Madonna. It is to be expected.
Yeah, but
I mean, look at her
you
entrance.
could still have the crowd there. Like, you could still have some kids in front enjoying themselves. Like, you know what? She's charging $300 a ticket for her show. I mean, at least these kids could do is get a chance to see 12 minutes of Madonna.
True.
So there was that. I thought she looked great, although at the same time, I thought, and I don't mean physically, I think she looked old. I felt like she moved slow. I felt like nothing she opened with Vogue, which
Yeah.
I love that song, by the way. I love Vogue. And she was very serious and like very intense, because Vogue is very serious. And then she smiled for the other 9.5 minutes. It looked so plastered on and fake. I was like, what are you kidding right now? There's nothing funny about what's happening here. And she just seemed to move slow to me.
Really?
Yeah. Nothing felt fluid and real. And her cast of clowns that she brought with her, fucking MIA, is ridiculous. I know you love them. Nicki Minaj, totally useless. And the fucking midget from The Wizard of Oz, the representative of the Lollipop Guild, otherwise known as CeeLo Green, marching out in his little marching band outfit. It was ridiculous.
He has the T-Rex hands.
Oh my God, I swear I was like, we flash back to the Yellow Brick Road or what? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't argue with a lot of that. I thought it was a little slow for Madonna, and very safe. You know, not that I wanted to see, because I think we're all just fed up with the shenanigans and the wardrobe malfunctions and all of that. That's a waste of time. But if it was going to be edgy and somewhat surprising, this would have been the show. And it was anything but that. This was the safest, calmest Madonna possible, where she just kind of stuck to the hits, big production numbers or whatever, and it just doesn't feel like a Super Bowl halftime show. You want like fist in the air, fist pumping songs. These are classic songs, no doubt, but it's like the same argument about being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Springsteen, Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Madonna, Hall of Fame. I don't know.
Right.
Wait.
It's not rock and roll. It's not rock and roll.
I agree.
I'm not saying she's not great. She's genius. All right. I'll go on record. Madonna's genius. She's not a genius rock star.
Yeah.
You disagree?
Okay, so she's not a rock star, but she opened the gates for all these women you see out there right now. I mean, like you were saying, Kyle, like when Madonna came around, of course you had Debbie Harry before her, but when Madonna came around, she's a superstar.
So
she's
put her in the
one.
Pop Music Hall of Fame.
Well, there you go.
Right.
But
I think that's the argument Joe's getting at.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
belittling
saying
Madonna.
I'm not belittling Madonna at all. I think she is genius. I'm just saying the Super Bowl's halftime show is supposed to be for fist pumping classic rock to get everybody pumped up, and I don't know that this qualifies. It's a great show, and pop fans are going to flock to see it at an arena. But getting you pumped for third quarter, I don't know that Vogue is your go-to song.
Yeah.
I think Born in the USA might be your go-to song, or Refugee or something like that.
Yeah, I don't want to. I know we got to wrap it up. I
Yeah.
know that's where you're getting, but I want to say this: there's no rule that says you have to lip sync.
Right.
At these shows. I mean, Bruce didn't, Petty didn't, The Who didn't. You may not have loved those performances, but at least they fucking sang. You don't have to lip sync. Why does she lip sync?
Well, she did sing. She did sing some.
Very
I'm not
little.
saying she didn't lip sync. She did.
Yeah.
Because she did a lot of entertaining, a lot of dancing. But we'll leave it at that.
That's fair. That's fair. All right.
Couple of quick thank yous?
Yes, couple of quick thank yous, and we will get the hell out of here. Rich at Pure Rock Radio.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for 4 podcasts in a row.
Yeah,
Dude,
you're the man.
hit me with your best shot. That was really gay. Terry Edwards and Max Krasny in Westwood 1. Well done, boys.
Yeah, hit me with your... Never mind.
Rob Wilson and Chris Stone for usedbin.com.
Never mind.
You can always find us at usedbin.com. Come into the forums and say hello. We are on Facebook at Usedbin Radio, and we are on Twitter at Usedbin Radio. Feel free to say hello at any one of those three places.
And when we tweet, we mean it.
That's right. You can also email us at usedbinradio at usedbin.com during the week, and we will read your email on the air the following show. Joe Mama.
Sir.
Rachel the Metal Warrior Princess Madonna Lover.
Yes.
Nice to see ya.
And to see ya has been nice.
Totally nice. Good night, everybody. And good night, Jude Law.
Used Bin Radio. What are you listening to?
Strike a pose.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
You're listening to a live internet broadcast on Pure Rock Radio.
At purerockradio.net.